Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
make that push for playoffs in the remaining 3 weeks of the regular season. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ferris. I'm here to show the world. I'm joined by the magnificent Swifty on the broadcast desk today. And Swifty, how are we feeling heading into today's matchup?
I think if you're both teams, you're fighting from the bottom, but you're still looking for a win. These are short single round robin seasons here at Titan Esports, and anything can really happen. You never know when teams at the top are possibly going to drop a game or two, and you never know if you can make a miracle run and come back and knock yourself back up into one of the top bottom seeds heading right into playoffs. So, down for the count, but not completely out, I say, for both of these teams, as they're going to look to pick up, I would say they both need a 2-0 here for the best shots at moving into playoffs.
Absolutely. I did a little bit of talking with Explosive, who is Flash for Coinflip's jungler, and I just wanted to ask him what the team's mindset was heading into this matchup, because their backs are against the wall. They need the wins, like you were talking about, to make it to playoffs there. So I asked him first what he thought about his team's confidence and how they believed they were, or if they believed they were capable of actually bringing it back here in the last half of the season. He said they were. They said they've already played 2 out of 3 of the top teams in the league, and the roster has been plagued with substitutes a little bit, and at the time they thought that they were going to have the full roster here for the game. Unfortunately, they do have a substitute in the mid lane for this series. That is going to be Empress Raka in for Cristobal. So he did say, though, that they have full faith in Empress Raka to be able to perform in the mid lane there, but still they have that substitute in. But not all is lost, maybe, because also Spider by Esports is also fielding 2 substitutes in their roster as well.
Yes, they're fielding 2 rosters, I believe, in their jungle and their support role, which, and if you know anything about coordinated and competitive league, 2 roles that can be very, very important in driving sort of catalyst conversations, information sharing, shot calling. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams will adapt. Part of league and part of the competitive scene is being able to adapt even in situations like this, where you may not be playing with the full 5 roster you're expected to be playing with. I'm excited to see maybe if they change their drafts up, change their sort of team identity and how they want to attack these games with these sort of new late edition substitute players. So I'm very excited to see that, Ferris. I know both of these teams are looking to pick up this win, and substitutes are maybe just going to add to the spice. So we'll see what happens.
They definitely might. And Flash for Coinflip, I asked Explosive as well, what is going to be the keys to actually changing up their routine of winning? And it has been not a lot of wins in the last couple of weeks. He said they're an ADC focused, jungle focused, and mid lane focused team. And so with the substitute and Empress Raka in today, I feel like a lot of the responsibility of being the focal point for the team is going to go on to Carry, who is their AD carry. In their only win that they've had all season long, he had quite the incredible performance. And as you can see on the screen now, not coin flipping as much, hence the name of the roster. Explosive said he's the most coin flip jungler in the entire league, and so trying to prevent that coin flip play style. And they said their early game has a little bit of a rough patch as well, and they want to be able to work on their mid to, or in that early game, so that when they reach the mid to late game that they feel that is their strong suit, then they're going to be in a good spot to win the game. They say specifically their team fighting as well has been their strong suit for the entirety of the fall 2024 here in Conqueror League.
Well, then we're looking to see if they're going to be drafting team fight sort of compositions and styles as we head into draft here. Flash for Coinflip is immediately going to be taking Thresh off of the table from Spider-Bite Esports, which is responded by Seraphine. Yeah, like you said, Ferris, I'm curious to see how they sort of adapt that draft strategy. If they're an early game struggling team that sort of likes to scale and buy their time out for team fight and mid-game skirmishing and fighting and objective control, do they lean into that? Do they say, hey, Empress Raka, we're going to need you to sort of fit cohesively into the style that we have made for ourselves? Or maybe they take it in a different direction. Maybe they say, hey, maybe we focus really on the early game and propel ourselves into that position where we can start taking mid-game, late-game team fights comfortably, which is more of their strong suit. As we're going to see more things knocked off the table, some standard bans, Aurora, Nocturne, LeBlanc.
And something that's going to round it out, going to be that Corki. Again, Corki changed on the most recent patch, very strong. Can be flexed into both the bot lane and the mid lane. Let's see what the first pick is for Coinflip. I am immediately thinking about the Kai'Sa for carry, as this has been a champion that he's played historically in the league and had lots of success, but as well for Set. SBG, Set's baby girl, the engaged supports have been their focal point, and also it pairs nicely with a Kai'Sa if they do want to end up going that route. So it's going to be that pickup there for Sombra, and likely going to go into the hands of Set's baby girl to start it off.
You heard it here first, folks. Rel is Set's baby girl. It's canon. It's lore. I think I may understand the ideology here behind the Rel first pick. If FCC carry, or FFC, excuse me, carry is going to really have to step up and fill some big shoes this game and sort of be their solo win condition. It's possible that they want to be able to see the first pick ADC out of SBet, and they see the Varus, and they're going to respond with a Jhin. However, Skarner has been picked up on the red side for Spider-Bite Esports, which we know is a strong pick. And we're going to see K'Sante as a B3. What do you think here, Varus?
Well, I mean, it's going to be K'Sante here for Sombra. Likes this champion, plays a lot of it, so I think that's a good pickup for them there. The Jhin can struggle into tankier champions like the Skarner, which has been so powerful in the game for the last couple of patches. Caius, Cosades, and Sad Lantern are the substitute here for SBet, the two substitutes that they have. And as well as the Braum, too. I was talking about the Kai'Sa. They didn't end up opting into that route. So the Jhin here, I have a little bit of problems with the Jhin into the Braum. You know, the Unbreakable Shield can block the damage from fourth shot. The Skarner takes a million years to eat through that HP bar, especially when you're not playing a carry with lots of DPS at their dispense. So for the fact that carry needs to be that power point and that player that needs to take over here for Flash for Coinflip, I'm a little bit concerned about the way that they've started off this draft for the game, but we'll see as the next picks roll through. Maybe they have other options here as we head into the next round of picks.
We're going to see an Ornn now picked up, R4 for Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula, really opting into this beefy frontline play style, which, Jen, like you said, can struggle with. Flash for Coinflip is now in the position where they sort of need to start thinking about, do we have any max HP damage on our team? And if so, they already know it's not going to be in the AD carry position. It's going to be elsewhere on the map. We see Viego picked up, who does have a little bit of that with the passive, as well as an Annie to round out the composition. So depending on how this early game goes, they may or may not have a hard time dealing with Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula's tanks. And we'll see how Spider-Bite is going to respond with their final pick. And a Syndra.
It's going to be the Cinder for Dalto. This has been a pick that Dalto has been playing a lot, so it's a beefy front line, like you were talking about here for SBet. They just want to front to back. They want to peel for this Varus, assuming that the Varus is going to opt into the DPS build. They need that DPS on their team if it is a poke Varus, and they're almost exclusively burst here. So I would expect the Blade of the Rune King, Ginsu's Rageblade build to come through. The one thing is that now for Empress Raka, who's decided to play the Annie in this matchup, you have two priority targets. You're not really torn on who you're looking for. It's either going to be Dalto if Dalto's right in front of you, or you're looking for Lush on a flank, going to flash forward, find that summon Tibbers there for yourself, and it's easy target selection for the side of Flash for Coinflip in this game number one. The question is, are they going to actually be able to lock down those targets? And let's take a look here, because Carrie, you're sitting in this tri-brush, bro. You do not know what's coming your way, my man. You're going to get hit with the concussive blows. Flash! You got to flash in this situation. Going to do so, and that's already flashed down here for the Flash for Coinflip 80 carry. So good news off the invade already for SBet.
Yeah, SBet takes that every day of the week. I think they have an understanding that, hey, if this is a mid and jungle ADC focused team, they're already in a bit of a detrimental position, or a bit of, I guess, a back foot, I would say, in the fact that they have Empress Raka as their substitute for the mid lane. Let's see if we can force a flash out of a key component of this team. They do it. They walk in as 5. They have a very beefy front line to do so. That always feels good if you're the team that is able to blow the enemy ADC's flash, as we're going to see Cinder get a little bit of poke damage off, get some first strike gold in the wallet. But other than that, nothing too eventful. We're going to see what appears to be a top to bot side clear. Both teams, junglers, may be focusing into a bot side focus for the early game as we move into sort of mid-game objective and grub fights and skirmishes. We'll see how that pans out for both teams. But Ferris, I had a question for you as this draft was concluding, but I may be interrupted here.
You're going to be interrupted by that crash down that's going to come through from Set's baby girl. They're going onto the Jin, who has no flash. Look at that 4th shot damage, though, here from Carry. Really good onto Lush. And both AD carries getting very low. Concussive blows going to be stacked up here onto the Rel. And this is just going to be half HP pretty much for both of these teams. So lots of aggression here on the bot side. It's what you'd expect from a flashless AD carry down there. A couple of summoners burned, ignites, and exhausts on the supports. But let's continue on what you were ready to follow up with there, Swifty.
Yeah, absolutely. Before that little bloody early skirmish happened, my question was going to be basically, we spoke about max percent HP damage in drafting. We spoke about having a front line and basically sort of Annie having a decision of who she really needs to be dropping those flash ults on. At first, I was worried about Flash for Coinflip's draft in that it didn't seem like they really were considering how they were going to be dealing with these tanks if the game got late enough, particularly with the Jin ADC, who we are anticipating to sort of be this win catalyst in this win condition. However, in looking at the sort of one-dimensionality of Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula's draft, part of me is actually thinking that maybe Flash for Coinflip has a little bit of advantage here. They may not have all the tools they need to deal with the tanks in a super straightforward manner. However, they have a much more multi-dimensional team comp. I'm curious if that's something that they recognize and feel, and if they're willing to sort of flex, I guess, maybe that advantage that they see for themselves if they see it.
I think that point perfectly transitions into something that I was about to talk about, which is explosive on this Viego. You have basically the Skarner that wants to make ganks happen and needs to set up plays for the team. Explosive doesn't necessarily have to do that, can always farm it up on the Viego, can look for invades, look for skirmishes. And I think with the multi-dimensional aspect of the Flash for Coinflip team, their skirmishing is something they have a lot better here than SBET does, especially so with the Viego resets, Heartbreaker, transforming into a whole bunch of different people as topside picture-in-picture Sombra for Flash for Coinflip. First blood onto the Ornn.
That's that Cassante damage. Absolutely surprising top laners. I see it a lot in games and other games and my own games. I feel it has to feel good if you're Cassante. Cassante is one of those, like Viego, super game warping champions, right? As you were describing. Someone who can take skirmishes, 2v2s and 3v2s when grubs want to be spawning, or 4v4s, if supports get sent up. Cassante can be a game warping champion, particularly has his own game warping kit and warps his own sort of play style with that ultimate, right? Being able to isolate someone out and basically becoming a heavy damage bruiser from a tank. Always feels good if you're the top laner to pick up a solo kill just on an emotional level, but really feels good if you're Flash for Coinflip. You're already winning the top side of the map. If you're going to be playing for Jin, maybe do some dragon stacking, maybe try and pick up some early kills. You at least know your top side's in a good position. However, if you're Spider-Bite, as they're taking more trades in the top lane here, if you're Spider-Bite, you kind of feel okay going down 0-1 on the Ornn. Ornn is a heavy scaling champion, gets so much gold value out of items, out of just waiting for the late game and out of their gold. So not too much loss on the side of Spider-Bite, but, obviously going to look to mitigate any losses here out of the Ornn.
We're definitely going to have to see how Flash for Coinflip utilizes the advantages that they get. I think it's safe to assume that there will be points in this series where they will have advantages, starting off with the solo kill that Sombra was able to pick up. And if they want to be a team that has to contend with the top teams, and utilizing those advantages and being more proactive on the map, utilizing the fact that Viego, Cassante, like you were saying, Swifty, can be X factors in this game. They have kits that can do a whole bunch of different things. Can they take over? Can they make a statement series here against SBET, who has been the team that struggled the most in this Titan Conqueror League? That's really what they want in this series. They need some confidence, as there really is do or die for both of these teams. Even SBET here, even a win today, might not still put them in a position to make the playoffs here. So there really is a lot riding on this series, and getting those early kills, getting yourself into your bag early on, it's going to be so valuable. As Sombra, again, control here, San Sereno, very low underneath this tower, has the all-out available. Sombra is posturing, but level 6 for the Ornn makes me believe that it's just playing for those plates. As we're going to see in the mid lane, oh my goodness, Spectral Maw lands, therefore Explosive forcing out the flash from Dalto. Summon Tibbers used as well, getting some good sums in the mid lane.
Yep, a great flash there. Oftentimes you see mid laners or ADCs or any key targets hold onto that flash just a little too long. Disciplined play, like you said. They need to not bleed early, both of these teams, right? This is do or die series for both Spider-Bite and Flash for Coinflip. As we're going to see this Cassante keep punching out this Orin, and the ult comes through.
Out. And the Pathmaker is good. Before the Call of the Forge God can even come through, Sombra, second solo kill of the game, feeling themselves just like you and I were saying they had to do here in this game. Now the Cassante's primed to take over. They got the grubs in their pocket. And Flash for Coinflip, they're hitting hard in the early 7 minutes.
Yep, they recognize the fact that they had a solo kill on the Cassante top lane. Cassante presses it. Viego doesn't even need to show up. Knows that the team had just taken, excuse me, the Spider-Bite Esports team had just taken Dragon. They know they need to trade on the top half of the map. They need to mitigate any sort of objective value. They make the play. They take the grubs. It's a great play. What it is also is it's sort of disrupting, I guess, our expectations for this game in that we had assumed, Jhin is really sort of the angle of play here, but Sombra's what seems to be prowess on Cassante, and maybe Sanserino's confusion or lack of experience with the matchup is coming into effect here, as we may see it lopsided, but some more fighting out of these two in the top lane, Ferris.
Pathmaker gets Sombra away, but there's that Call of the Forge God that wasn't able to be used in their first exchange, which here's going to be explosive. Sanserino still wants this fight, though. Bellows Breath, can it be enough? The shield comes through with this dash away from Sombra. Explosive can't quite find the last little hit, or that last little bit of damage for the kill. Heartbreaker was not expended, so thankfully Sombra's life is saved here by the Flash for Coinflip jungler.
Flash for Coinflip really needs Sombra to stay alive on this 2-0 Cassante. They need to lean into this, I think, this lopsided advantage that they have in the top side, excuse me, with Cassante. Bot lane is a little bit even right now. Maybe you could argue that Jhin is a little bit behind Lush's Varus, but we're going to see. Oh
my goodness. Scatter of the Weak lands and Pale goes wide. Tibbers is summoned. Empress Raka cold right there. Not going to burn. Well, didn't have the flash anyways, but the Impale just short there from Caius Cosades. And yeah, I mean, that play didn't pan out the way they wanted to.
Didn't pan out the way they wanted to. Unfortunately, Syndra can't really close that gap in the same way that she probably would have wanted to. Dalto's flash had to be burned, like we said on the previous play, mid lane. However, we're seeing the Tibbers come into effect there. It can be used offensively. It can be used defensively, as we're going to see Set's Baby Girl punching out Sad Lantern. Tank on tank violence, and ult from Varus.
They're going to come through. Remember, no cleanse on carry, so this is a dangerous situation, but the exhaust comes through, keeping carry's HP bar relatively healthy, but the ignite's going to tick down. It's actually going to be Sad Lantern who takes that kill. Set's Baby Girl is going to drop there as the concussive blows stack up. 2 kills back for Spider-Bite Esports in the bot lane.
Really flipping the script on us, Ferris. Tarantula says, you know what? No, we're the carry. Look at me. I am the carry now. FCC carry. They took the name for themselves, Spider-Bite Esports here, as they're going to pick up 2 kills. You'd love to see both of those kills on Varus, but you get what you can get. It's 1 on Braum, 1 on Varus. That's a 30 CS differential for the side of Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula in favor of Spider-Bite. That's got to feel good if you're the bot lane. And we're really starting to see sort of the line of agency tilt further and further sort of to the polls here as Flash for Coinflip's top side is winning relatively soundly, as well as Spider-Bite Esports bot lane. I'm curious to see how these two teams assess that situation and then move into the mid game here. You're winning in a tank v tank matchup on the top side, but carries and damage are kind of the name of the game here, as we're going to see another all out.
Sombra forces the flash off of Sanserino, abusing that lead that they have. You said it, the pulls. I like the way you said that. The opposite ends of the map provide different advantages and disadvantages for these teams. It kind of makes not necessarily a conflict of interest. Well, maybe actually they're happy to just play to the opposite sides. You can see, though, Cosades here is going to be playing towards that Drake, knows the bot lane has the priority. They'll be able to pick that one up. The question is, can FFC follow it up with the 6 grubs later on? I don't think there's a contest that's going to be happening here. They're making their way over. They know that they're on this, but it's so hard to get into this pit when there's a Braum hovering. Their mid laner's moving as well. Dalto is here. They get the Drake, no problem. They might just move it up to the top lane here, Swifty, and just take away these grubs as well. They're going to move up the Braum, and it isn't Set's Baby Girl to make the roam. But it is the HP advantage for Sombra, so we'll see how it plays out around the grubs.
Yeah, you got to question maybe if the the cleanest decision making wasn't necessarily in the cards there for Explosive, as you know it's really hard to get into the pit. You don't have priority in mid or bot. Is
going to go right in. Summon Tibbers, though, onto Sad Lantern. That's definitely not the target they want. Heartbreaker away from Explosive will not bring him to safety. What can Sombra do in this play? Empress Rocket is completely out of mana. The Q3 will land. Those Antofo strikes will bring down Sad Lantern. There's still 3 strong here for Spider-Bite Esports. Tibbers doing a little bit of a good job tanking up inside of that front line as well. Sets Baby Girl now here to join the play. They're onto the grubs. They have the smite advantage, but they want to continue this play. Does FFC. Pathmaker onto the Orin, going to cancel away the Searing Charge. Call of Forge God going to come through. The target has switched onto Dalto here for Sets Baby Girl. It's going to be Sombra. What can they do? Can they make the magic happen? It doesn't look like they're going to. Shut down here for Dalto. Empress Raka should follow as well, but is going to be able to walk themselves away. It's the Rel 1 versus 3 trying to find kills. Very healthy in this play, as now Explosive back from the Death Realm might just be able to pick up and clean up this fight. The skirmishing here from the Viego is what we were talking about. Heartbreaker for a double kill. What else can they get? Sad Lantern now from the Death Realm too. It's a fight in 2 parts. Explosive said he's the most coin flip player, or at least the most coin flip jungler in the league, showing that right here around the grubs.
I'm almost at a loss for words at how true that
for
became
this
here.
one
I go
too.
for the 5.
Oh my goodness, isn't going to be able to get it.
I need to have a discussion with you, Explosive, after this game. My heart can't take that. When you told me that Explosive was the self-proclaimed earlier in pre-game discussions, that Explosive was a self-proclaimed most coin flip jungler in the league, I didn't know quite what that meant until this set of plays here. The most exciting of things to see is a coin flip player like that, but also, you know, the most worrisome simultaneously. Obviously, first things first, what a great re-engage. Recognizes the fight's extended, and we're going to see more fighting fairs.
Part 3, Swifty. This is the never-ending grub fight. It's Empress Raka and Sombra here, and Pale lands onto the Xanthi, who's all by himself. He's got no homies around him. They just didn't have the firepower to contest this for a 3rd time, and this will be evened up in the grub numbers for both of these teams.
Wow. Even in the grub numbers, absolutely correct. Now, before more fighting happens, just to add a little bit of context to everything we just saw, I obviously think that trading, or rather not trading immediately the grubs here for that dragon was a mistake on the side of Explosive and Flash for Coinflip. I think there's a little bit of a decision-making error that happens there. You have absolutely no way, with no priority in the bot lane, to get into the pit. You have no vision. Your mid lane doesn't quite have the priority they need. No one's walking with the Annie. You can't really hover behind pit there and expect to have a play go your way for this dragon. The dragon goes down. They send up this whole team. Explosive recognizes this and walks, but makes the mistake of blind checking the bush and dies. However, getting those kills onto a Viego, a sort of completely game-warping fight pick like this Viego, is huge, right? And you sort of need to capitalize, and then...
Tibbers go on to Dalto. This might just be the full one-shot. There's the playmaking potential of the mid-jungle duo for FFC right on display there before the Rift Herald.
Yep, the kills coming through there. Obviously, there were some mistakes made, but picking up those kills is super valuable on a Viego. Viego can absolutely warp a game. It is a pick that I like to ban frequently because of how game warping it can be. As we see Explosive, that last fight went absolutely nuts in a 1v3, 1v4 almost situation, and then follows it up with maybe the most questionable solo dive I've ever seen in my life, but it's okay, right? And that's what we're here for, is to digest these things together. But what I would like to add is I do feel that at the end of the day, as messy as I could have been from both sides with Rel flashing. Oh my goodness.
Magnet Storm, they're not going to let you get your words in here because it's constant action in this game. That might have just been the folly engage for Set's Baby Girl as that Rel disappeared off the face of the earth. But let's watch the follow-up play. Teleport is coming in for both teams. Curtain Call, utilize Explosive. Cannot even move. This Braum pick is so valuable. Ooh. Double and Pale. Look at Spider-Bite Esports go. They are 0-4 in the standings, but they want to change everything today about that. And they are doing so here in the bot side, game number 1.
That was the cleanest play I think we've seen this game. Excellently executed from the side of Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula. I really love the look out of Set's Baby Girl on the Rel. However, it doesn't quite pan out. The damage was I think, unexpected on that rel, and the inability of Jhin to really get in there and do the damage and eliminate a key target. Obviously, because the Jin's kind of been shut out of the game a little bit. But my point right before this fight happens here, as we're about to see the replay, was I think that Spider-Bite, on the backside of all of this stuff that's been going on, really is the ones that are coming out on top here, and we're sort of seeing this come to fruition here, right? A beautiful Braum ultimate, right, out of Sad Lantern, really stops this Jhin from being able to do anything. And then again, Explosive says, I can 1v2. And then Reality says, no, you can't.
Yes, they cannot. Braum is just so good at stopping stuff like that. It's just concussive blows are insane. We're looking at the picture-in-picture here. Sets Baby Girl in some trouble against both Dalto and Caius Cosades. There's nothing really Carry can do about this. Explosive wants to get involved on this play. Deadly Flourish is actually going to land on Adulto. Maybe they have the counterpunch here. The first kill is going to go down, but this might just be 2 kills now for FFC. Cosades has a lot of HP to work with on this Skarner. Very tanky. Scatter the Weak there. Stolen. Scatter the Weak from Explosive comes through. The Heartbreaker there to follow. Carry going to be able to pick it up with the bouncing grenade. Transforms into the Skarner and use the X-Tall's impact to roll on out of there. And now FFC getting a little bit back for themselves.
A little bit back for themselves.
Oh! Not quite enough damage to one-shot here. Can Tibbers finish it off? Yes, they can. They get the shutdown for the Annie. That's about as big as it gets.
Giant Teemo coming in for the win. I absolutely love this skin. Yeah, we're seeing Flash for Coinflip bite back. I think they might have heard, you know, through the spiritual realm, my commentary about Spider-Bite Esports really taking the wins there, and they had to shut me up. But yeah, you want to claw back in any way you can. They clearly were down in objectives there. They didn't get the 6 scrubs that they needed. As we're seeing a replay here of a fight on the top side, it looks relatively even. And
it's actually, wow, oh my gosh. So San Siro.
I didn't know how that was going to go. I didn't see it on the screen.
That's big, though, for him to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sort of stopping the Cassante in their tracks. Cassante did give up a few kills, as you know, we saw this play prior with the escape E out of the Viego version of Skarner. But, you know, Cassante had that 2-0 lead, and we were discussing it. However, the whole time, there was a little bit of a CS lead for San Sereno on the Ornn. And when plays like that happen topside, there's really sloppy sort of kills all over the board, random team, like you don't know who's grabbing the objective. Those can be really detrimental to the top laner that you thought had the lead. It completely disrupts game tempo. It completely disrupts your ability to sort of gauge where you are as an individual in the lane, and then you sort of get plays like that. It's almost a tragedy. You never really want to see it for whoever's winning the lane to sort of have team fights go poorly and then really disrupt their position in the game. But, you know, excellent job on Spider-Bite and San Sereno's Ornn for being able to recognize that, hey, I think I'm at a point where I can actually take this fight. I'm up 30 CS, and I'm playing an Ornn who, you know, has a surprising amount of damage for how tanky Ornn is. So both teams clearly fighting back. I think that will to live and stay alive, that playoff run to stay alive for both of these teams is clearly present. When one team is taking a loss, they're immediately bouncing back with some sort of win, as we're going to see another Tibbers come out.
Big Tibbers, Dalto. Look how the turntables here, because the Syndra's getting one shot, but they actually just end up killing each other. It looked like a TP was coming through. I think that ended up getting canceled. We'll look towards the mid lane, because I think a fight is breaking out. Magnet Storm here from the Rel to bring him in. Curtain Call as well, but the Braum's just eating all that damage again. Look at the value that this pick provides. Sad Lantern is doing it up here. Lushin as well is putting out so much damage on the Varus. Should be able to charge up one more piercing arrow here to get this kill. Sets Baby Girl, gets the shield from the crash down. Might be able to walk this one out, but Sad Lantern is in hot pursuit. And whether or not he gets this kill is supportal combat. Shattering Strike lands. It feels odd to really play-by-play this. We got the full zoom. I think this is going to be the kill for Sad Lantern. Absolutely massive there.
It is the strongest muscle.
It really is. 20 minutes into the game, we have to start thinking about soul here, Swifty, because it's 50 seconds to a soul, potentially, for Spider-Bite.
It absolutely is. This whole time, we've been seeing back and forth, gold being traded back and forth between laners, top-on-top action. We've seen mid-on-mid action with an instant, you know, almost frame-for-frame trade of kills. We just saw a support fight in the river around Baron. There's been a lot of fighting, a lot of skirmishing. It's been almost hard to track who's really winning this game. Be that for good or bad reasons, right? But like you said, let's remember, and as these fights were going on and you were talking at the speed of sound, impressively, may I add, I remembered that Spider-Bite is up 3 dragons to none. Grubs are tied. They're up a handful of 1,000 of gold, as we're going to see a little bit of punching, but nothing coming to it. Spider Bite Esports has the position to blow this game wide open, I think, at any moment. And I'm waiting for one or both of the teams to recognize that fact, right? Soul Drake, especially Chemtech, on 3 tanks, as we're going to see a fight come here.
Like, naturally, with the threat of the soul, they're all going to recognize that because they're going to fight over this objective. But with the gold lead that Spider Bite Esports have, I think they have enough in the tank here to win out in this fight. It's not even close. The tanks, the damage is not there for Flash for Coinflip. We talked about how scary it was of this front line for Spider Bite Esports. And this Skarner just looks nigh impenetrable, and Lushan and Dalto are going to be the beneficiaries of this as they are laying out all the damage possible in the backline. Their prize will be a 22-minute Chemtech Soul. They are primed and ready to go to take this game number 1. It is most certainly at this point now their game to lose.
Absolutely their game to lose, and that was the moment. They blew the game wide open, right? You got to question whether or not they could have recognized that a little bit earlier, but hey, in the heat of the moment, when you're playing do or die sort of games and series like this, sometimes it's hard to recognize this. We're going to get a little bit of a replay here, be able to see what happens. Sad Lantern coming over the wall with a beautiful Skarner ultimate, may I add, as the re-engage is going to happen here. And now, Ferris, what I'd like to add is that in most situations, that's a really great rel ult. However, this team's just too tanky. I don't think there is nearly enough damage sources to be able to deal with these tanks. Like you said, in draft, I don't think Jhin has the capability of doing it. And one thing I noticed during this fight was I don't think Viego has the capability of doing it, even though Viego has a little bit of that built into his passive, right? If you'll notice, the Viego actually built Triforce first, and now is building into what I can only imagine is a Sterix or something along the lines. Sundered Sky, excuse me. Didn't go for a Blade of the Ruined King option, which is typically very good in a champions like Ornn, like Skarner, even like a Braum, who has a relatively high, base health pool. It didn't necessarily offer the build that I would have expected and hoped for as well. So, and we're seeing that sort of come into play here as no damage was done to these frontline tanks, and now they're setting on a Chemtech Soul, which is going to make them even harder to kill as they get lower and lower, right? Spider Bite Esports is now really in the driver's seat. It's a 5-1-5 Varus, a 7-4-4 completed Rabadon Syndra. They're a very tanky team, but they certainly have the damage to back that up as well. As we're going to see some movement from both teams here to start getting set up vision and control of this Baron pit. This is an opportunity, I think, for Flash for Coinflip to maybe turn the tides a little bit, as we're going to see some more tank on tank in the bot side. Ornn's going to miss that.
It's going to be, hey, Sancerino holding their ground in this 1-versus-1. It was all Sombra in the lane phase. But this Ornn, I mean, when you actually think about the team fights now with the Chemtech Soul, you said, now they're going to have that extra damage when they're lower. So if you can finally get these champions to a low HP bar, then they're even stronger. They actually might even want that in a fight to some degree. So it's just more unfortunate situations here placed onto the Flash for Coinflip players. This is a long 1-versus-1. I'm waiting for Set's baby girl to join to start getting excited here that we might potentially have a kill on our hands. Call the Forge God's going to come through. Let's look on the left side of the screen. Explosive has been exploded, and that might just be the Baron call here for the side of Spider Bite Esports, though they did lose their top laner on the other side. They're going to make the run over there. They do have the smite advantage in this situation, so we'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, you got to make that Baron call every day of the week, in my opinion, if you're Spider Bite. They get the pick, an absolutely massive pick. Syndra's so good for that. Varus is so good for that. On the jungler, on Explosives, Viego. They have the damage in this Varus. It's a Gwynsu's Berserker Greaves, roided up Blade of the Ruined King Varus. That's a lot of percent HP damage coming through. They're going to secure it. There is not going to be a contest. They are still in the driver's seat. I'd like to point out, Sancerino dies, obviously, they're on the bot side, but I think that's an excellent trade every day of the week. You almost get the kill on Sombra. You drag the Rel, Set's baby girl's Rel, all the way down to that bot lane. You're able to find the pick. You have a guaranteed man advantage, a multiple man advantage, in fact, because 2 are on the bot side, and then the only 2 to respond were on the top side because you picked the Viego. You take that every day of the week. Excellent side laning from the side of Sancerino on Spider Bite Esports. And yeah, now they're really looking to capitalize, push game tempo, find this win, right? This is a team that has not won a series yet. I believe they have 1 game win with no actual full series wins. Getting their second is a great feeling going into these do-or-die matches. Neither of these teams really have the option to drop a game here if they want hopes of making playoffs. And Spider-Bite Esports, I think, is now in a position to keep those hopes alive. If you're Flash for Coinflip, you've got to find ways in here. You've got to find some mistake, some points to capitalize on, because you cannot lose this game if you want to make playoffs.
Time might be now, as Empress Rocca went for the one-shot onto Dalto, but didn't do enough damage, and they're going to lose their life in the end. Diving into the backline is explosive, but is only going to be met with death, as look at the impenetrable HP bars of Spider-Bite Esports. They just don't take damage. It's crazy in these fights. They have the extra stats from the Baron. They got the Chemtech. So it's only 26 minutes into the game right now, Swifty. They are so overly accelerated. There is really not a whole lot else to be said. This should just be, maybe not the end of the game here, but this sets up the beginning of the end. They're going to take down these tier 2s. They're going to start sieging the base, looking to crack it open, go back, shop a little bit, and then make that final push. They're basically at this point, because Empress Rocca is just a burst champion, like they're almost a full AD team, is Flash for Coinflip. There is the Kanik Rookerin actually on San Sereno, but if you're the Annie hitting onto those tanks, you're not really doing what you want to be doing, which is assassinating the backline. So they're just building armor to make sure that they can sustain the damage from carry and explosive. And after that, I mean, it's chalked here. The inhibitor is gone. They are way accelerated in this game. The only thing I could see potentially is an Elder flip and maybe a miracle fight here for Flash for Coinflip.
Absolutely, I have to agree with everything you said there, Ferris. You're preying on explosive, coin flipping, ask the coin flip jungler into this Elder. Yeah, we see Viego go down so quickly without really an ability to do any damage there. It's tragic to see. There is no means of dealing with these tanks, unfortunately. So if I'm Flash for Coinflip, what I'm saying is we need to be able to catch our waves, right? We don't want to just immediately lose the last inhibitor. We don't want to lose any priority mid-wave, but we have to be able to maintain some presence here.
We're going to see Skarner go. Flash forward. Call of the Forge shot's going to come through right into this choke. It's going to land on the combo! That was beautiful there from SBet. Triple killed Adulto. They just smushed them underneath their boot. The spiders are crushing the humans in this one, as they should just march it down, take down the Nexus towers, rush the Nexus, pick up only their second game win of the year, but an emphatic, a dominant one at that, and they are carrying all the momentum headed into game number 2.
And that is going to be all she wrote for game 1. That is insanity. What insane damage coming out of that Syndra, as we're going to see a little bit of stat padding. Gotta love it as the Nexus goes down, Ferris. Yeah, you're feeling good if you're Spider-Bite here. They played to their win con. Obviously, there are some missteps, I think, from both teams here in their early game. I think that's abundantly clear. I think if you're Spider-Bite Esports, you obviously feel great about this first game win, but you always want to be thinking about what can we still shore up. Never take your foot off the pedal, Ferris. If you're going to be in a do or die situation, always be better than you just were. And Spider-Bite Esports, they're feeling good. Flash for Coinflip, they got to be better than they were, right? I love Explosive's ability to make plays happen, to be sort of a conducive element and a catalyst for events on the map. However, you got to be able to look in the mirror and say, when am I doing way too much? And I think this game is really what happened here. You can't get gold in the pockets of these tanks early if you're Flash for Coinflip, right? Because if Skarner, if Ornn, if their carries get any gold in their pocket, it's so hard to claw your way back into this game here. And I think Explosive's explosive play might have been more of a bane than a boon this game here, Ferris.
It definitely got chaotic around that mid game, and we can see on the gold graph, you can see the tiny little hills of blue, the sparks of hope for Flash for Coinflip in that one, and then the tsunami of red that just follows, and that was the wave of successful plays afterwards for SBet. I honestly think the draft here, at least in regards to the Braum pick, there was so many times when it was a fight where both teams were at the same level when it came to strike. They had the same little bit of gold. Whoever's going to win this fight is going to be in the driver's seat for the next little bit in the game. It was Sad Lantern's Braum. Explosive couldn't move. Concussive blows were so big there and made the difference in these fights. It was the first pick Rel here for Flash for Coinflip. They put so much priority utilizing their blue side first pick to get that engage for their support, and it ended up biting them in the butt because they didn't think about how valuable a Braum could be. So I think on top of the fact that Spider Bite Esports did perform so well in this game, maybe not like they normally do, as they have been a team who's historically struggled in the regular season, they also had quite the edge in the draft, and there were avenues here for Flash for Coinflip. They just couldn't actually get that execution down. So as we head into a short break before game number 2, we're going to keep those thoughts in our mind. Can Flash for Coinflip battle back with sort of their season on the line, or will Spider Bite Esports continue this momentum into a 2-0 sweep in their first match win of the Titan Conqueror League? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back all to the Titan Conqueror League. We're here for game number 2 between Flash for Coinflip and Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula. After a game that, you know, Swifty, you and I were quite surprised to see SBet actually not only perform, but also pick up the win in a very dominant fashion as well. And to reiterate the stakes here for this matchup, both of these teams sitting at the bottom of the standing, 7th place for Flash for Coinflip, 8th place for Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula. One of these teams with the win here is going to keep their playoff hopes alive. The other is going to sink down into that 4th loss, or that area where you don't really rely on your own play to actually be able to make the playoffs. So that's what's at stake here. Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula, they're up 1 game. They're feeling good. Let's see if they can actually close it out here in game 2, or if we get a game 3.
Absolutely. The stakes are high here, Ferris, for both teams. We need to see Flash for Coinflip bounce back if they really want to have their own destiny in their own hands, right? And if you're Spider-Bite, like you said, feeling good, want to be able to keep that feeling good. You know, you want to be able to keep that momentum, push that sort of advantage, that mental advantage heading into game 2 here. If you want to take this win, you understand that you really had, I think, an excellent draft. You pointed out, you know, right before we went to break, Braum being an excellent pick, an excellent response to them sort of leaning into that rel. What are we going to pick for our carry, our sort of win condition or win catalyst in FFC carry? So, you know, you want to make the educated sort of adjustments in, okay, this is what we won on. We want to make sure that we're forcing them into an uncomfortable position here. So we'll see how these things pan out as we're going into draft for game 2. We do have the same sides, it appears. Flash for Coinflip still taking blue. We'll see how the draft gets adjusted. So far, we see the Thresh ban. I'm assuming that's for Sad Lantern. I haven't actually looked at their op.gg, but
neither have I. I don't think we need to.
I'm assuming Sad Lantern Thresh ban is for Sad Lantern. We're going to see Nocturne come out again. I'm interested if we see still like the Aurora, or if they pivot and maybe ban out something like a Skarner or a Syndra, or something that really had a lot of game impact with the previous game. It's going to still be the Aurora, obviously. It's a super strong pick. It's flexible. And I'm sort of waiting here to see, Ferris, which of these two teams is going to make the first adjustment.
They loved that brick wall comp did SBet, and it really felt like Flash for Coinflip, they didn't have an answer in that game. They didn't draft very well to it. So there's the Braum ban. I think of all the champions from last game that SBet showed, that is the pick I would have wanted to ban away the most. Like I was talking about in the post game, how it just gave so much value there to the SBet squad, and it was so difficult to deal with. They wanted the priority on their support in game number 1. So what might be the adaptation here? They're going to flip the script. I like this a lot better. I talked about how carry was going to be the carry. Didn't end up happening. My analysis was poor. It might have been flawed, but I'm going to double down here. I think they might have just made a mistake in the draft, and they didn't really get the success, or they didn't have the vision there for the Jhin. But now with the Jinx, put carry onto something that really can take over in the game. A tough matchup into the Varus, but it can definitely shred through tanks a lot easier. And if they want to play slower, they could also do that as Jinx. We know as later it goes, the better it gets.
It also has that sort of game warping identity, sort of akin to the Viego, right? Can really blow open fights out of nowhere. It's obviously a hard carry champion. I was expecting and sort of hoping, like you said, to see something like a Kai'Sa, like a Jinx, possibly a Hui for that flexibility and that super late game damage. I like to see the Jinx come out. We're seeing SBet, however, sort of stick to their guns here. They grab the Skarner. It was a super effective pick. It's a super effective pick in nearly any composition. It is so strong right now. They stick with the Varus. There's so much success on it. But we're going to see a LeBlanc blind pick mid on R3 for SBet here. Most likely to see some bans for mid lane. Obviously, the Annie's coming out. The Annie never really got off her feet, Empress Raka on Annie here. However, the Tibbers ultimate is always useful. We did see some plays come through where Annie was able to take some kills in fights. However, it never really fully got off, but the respect coming through from SBet to ban it out. They're going to follow it up with an Amumu.
They are. They're trying to take out a lot of those engage options. Yeah, it is interesting, though, because Explosives already picked the Sejuani. So unless they think there's going to be... And Support's been picked, too. What were they thinking here with this Amumu ban? That is... yeah, that's definitely a question that we have. But Dalto picks up the LeBlanc and played the Syndra in game number 1. This time sees the fact that there's a Jinx. This is much more of a high priority target than a Jhin, in the sense that last game there was explosive on the carry. There was different potential carries that could be played, like the Cassante and the Viego. Now it's kind of just a funnel the Jinx comp. It's going to be Empress Rocket taking the Galio into the mid lane, explosives back on those initiation champions that he plays more of here in Titan Conqueror, so a little bit more comfort. Run it back with the Cassante too. Did a great job, did Sombra on that pick, at least early on. So the LeBlanc pick here, I'll circle back to that, gives a little bit more of that assassination potential. And now with the Pike lock in too, it's the same type of thing. How easily can we get to this Jinx?
Absolutely. How easily can we get to this Jinx? It is a bit of a one-dimensional team composition. I do like the team composition. Do not get me wrong. If you want to make Jinx strong, make the other 4 champions absolutely be supports for her. Galio has great peel, great disengage ability. Obviously, Milio's entire kit is, centered around making your ADC not die. Sejuani with engages as well as peel. Sejuani's a super versatile champion, and then Cassante just running it back. I think that's why we saw the Ornn and the Camille band for second phase bans for Flash for Coinflip. The Ornn is now off the table. We saw Sombra sort of flex the Cassante pick on Sancerino's Ornn in the early game, but Sancerino came right back and said, hey, I'm a scaling champion. I can take these fights later in the game. So they're going to get rid of that pick, take the Cassante, but that's so wonderful.
You gonna eat any of those flies? They're flying around. Man, that's food right there, bro. Look at that. He doesn't even know. You gotta eat, man. Come on,
warning
frog.
for our viewers, in case this frog eats the poor little dragonflies.
He's not gonna do it.
He's not gonna do it.
But it's gonna be Flash for Coinflip, or at least not Flash for Coinflip, Esbet, who tries to eat here. Sombra's Flash is burned. That's 2 for 2 on the games in this series where Flash is blown early. And now that, teams are backing off away once again, Esbet has the advantage in the early going. They have a better top lane matchup for themselves going into the Cassante. I also want to see how good is Set's baby girl on the Milio here, because if you ask a Pike main, who actually did burn the Flash in that invade as well, so Flash for Flash, they don't really like the Milio matchup because the Super Mega Fireball kick just interrupts the Bone Skewer when it's being channeled. So that could be a big alleviation of pressure in the bot lane, is this Milio pick. So I want to pay attention to that little micro interaction. You stare down the barrel of a Varus and a Pike and you're playing Jinx, you're like, okay, man, like it might be an FF at 4 minutes type of game, but that Milio might be your saving grace. We'll see how it goes here. That was an invisible Gwen for a little second there.
Yes, I didn't realize that Gwen had a little ability where Gwen got very, very small, like the doll. I think that's her lore. Like she was a doll, and Viego.
Oh, yes.
Something about Viego and the Shadow Isles. Something about that.
It is, yeah. It's sold, like Viego's wife or something like that.
That's what we do here on the Titan Esports casting team. We learn in a safe space together. Today I learned Gwen can turn into a doll in League of Legends. But going back to the gameplay discussion, I almost sidetracked myself after the frog bit, but obviously, like you said, I think Gwen does have a much easier time here into the Cassante as opposed to the Ornn, moving into these sort of mid game fights. I think she can hit 6 and then get an item and a half, and I think has a much easier time dealing with all out and actually taking 1v1s. So I do like the response there. What I wanted to comment towards at the end of draft here is that it's a huge shift in identity for Esbet. It's not a beefy front line, as we're going to see a little bit of pouching out mid. LeBlanc's going to dip away, though.
Empress Rocka, he actually dropped the Ignite here. Did Dalto ran the Ignite in the Summer Spells. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, really
so close to drawing there. Bone Skewer lands should be a good trade for them, but no kills for either side just yet.
No kills. Some summoners burned, but yeah, like I was saying, I think that this is a pretty drastic shift in compositional identity for the side of Spider-Bite. I like the willingness to adapt to the draft changes that Flash for Coinflip made. I do really like Flash for Coinflip's draft. I don't think Esbet's previous draft necessarily works into this. So props to them and kudos to them as our Pro Comps draft score is giving Esbet the advantage, not by a crazy amount, but definitely 53% is noticeable here. We'll see how that pans out as the game goes on. But I guess my commentary on draft being, it's clear to me that both teams here have made adjustments on the fly and per the previous game. I think it's going to be anyone's game here. It's all going to be down to execution. Frankly, it always is when you're playing competitive and coordinated League of Legends. I'm interested to see how now Sejuani, Explosive on the Sejuani, is going to adjust sort of this early to mid game pathing and sequencing, where we're going to see Sejuani's resources invested into. Because, like we said, it's sort of a protect the carry comp in this Jinx, and you're going to need Jinx to be at least even or a little bit behind moving into these team fight skirmishes if you want a chance at this composition's sort of win condition to come to fruition, Ferris.
And I am not liking what I'm seeing in the bot side right now for Flash for Coinflip. That's a pretty mean freeze. Sets Baby Girl is going to be the recipient of that by trying to walk up. You're not allowed to do it. Your jungler's not here to bail you out. Let's look towards the mid lane. Kaias Cosadas once again on the Skarner. Ixtal's impact into the wall. Empress Raka has no flash, and they will fall first blood to Spiderbite Esports once again in the mid lane. And they are looking to take control, take over the entire game once again.
We're seeing that Skarner pick absolutely be devastating. That early game gank potential and just, ability to turn around little trades like that and possibly losses for that LeBlanc into huge wins with the complete repositioning of the Galio. They're going to turn this right into the first dragon of the game here, Ferris. It's one of those champions that if you're not banning, you gotta have an understanding of how it wants to play. Kaias Casades used it to excellent ability, in my opinion, in the first game. Gonna grab this dragon, and we're seeing that happen here. Explosive getting a little bit caught out. We understand that Explosive is a self-proclaimed coin flip player that is typically associated with carry junglers or assassins. So maybe a little bit of a different playstyle here. And my commentary after that gank is you're seeing maybe a little bit of that uncomfortability come through here for Explosive Sejuani. You called the freeze on the bot half of the map for the bot lane, which is starting to choke out this Jinx as we move, into the 5 through 10 minute range of laning phase. And Explosive was caught out on the top side, took a back to rotate, maybe to help break the freeze. That gives the opportunity for Skarner to really capitalize on having the tempo advantage, and then capitalize on Galio blowing the E as it might happen again.
Here for Empress Raka, Sad Lantern getting involved, making it happen, give Dalto the kill. It actually was the teleport and the ignite turned into some drumsticks. I honestly have never seen that death animation before, which is kind of crazy because it's a pretty popular skin, is the Birdio. But that's foul, bro. Dalto and Sad Lantern just frying up that chicken in the mid lane. Ignite TP using it to good advantage here. The LeBlanc has no problems. Actually took the Doran's Blade to start this lane out too. And look at the top side of the map. It's going to be SBet that's taking the grubs away too. Explosive wanted to make that trade because the early Drake came through, but they can't get it. It's actually going to be, we can see it in the picture-in-picture. Explosive's trying to get in here, was fortunate to be able to grab one of them. Here comes the heroic entrance. It's going to land onto 2, but Dalto's here. This is 3 versus 2. Ixtal's impact into the wall. Explosive's going to be locked up. Is going to have to flash away from this one, but Sombra is here, going to take Kaias Casades over the wall. Should be able to flash forward, and Tofo strikes are good. The trade from San Sereno as well fails to skip and slash over the wall. It isn't going to matter in the end. It's such heavy priority on the neutral objectives for the Spiderbite Esports side. Double chains come through. This play is still going on. Snip's going to do a good amount of damage. Sombra's coming back like, Raka, bro, what's going on? Why are we still fighting this 1v2? I gotta escort you out of here. As Bone Skewer lands, this is definitely going to be some summoner spells burn. The heal used from Sets Baby Girl still has the flash, but look at carry though. Stacked up lethal tempo. They're feeling a little bit better in this lane.
Certainly feeling a little bit better. It looks like they were able to buy themselves a little bit of space with that extended fight on the top half of the map. You got to wonder what sort of miscommunications, or maybe it's stress, maybe it's a little bit of nerves. But the name of the game here for both of these teams seems to be these kind of extended. I don't want to say sloppy per se, but sort of chaotic fights, right? It's not clear to me until 45 seconds have gone by who's really coming out on top here. And now some team comps and some teams thrive in those chaotic situations, and some kind of fault and crackle and fizzle out. Again, I think we're seeing SBet come out a little bit on top here. They're up in dragons, they're up in void grubs, they're up in kills, however, just slightly. But you got to consider, if you're both teams here, particularly if you're both junglers, being the catalysts of both teams' early games here. Where am I overstepping? Where am I understepping, right? Do I need to be making trades across the map? Do I need to be contesting? And I think when you're in a situation where, maybe your entire playoffs dreams are on the line, you got to be able to calm those nerves, and you got to be able to sort of pace yourself and think through these things clearly. So curious to see, after these sort of extended fights, how both junglers are going to react to what just happened, and maybe adjust some gameplay things. I think you really don't want the LeBlanc and the Gwen coming online too early here if you're the side of Flash for Coinflip, as we're going to see more punching up in the top side. These two really like to punch each other, Ferris.
They do. They're constantly fist fighting over here. They really just don't like each other, but Explosive's going to get involved, going to usher in this wave. I think with the fact that SBET is ahead, let's take a look at what's going on to Set's baby girl here. I'm assuming a Bone Skewer was already used, but sadly entrance level 6. Death from below has to be flashed away from. That's a crazy experience advantage. Part of that might have come through because of the control of the lane, that freeze that came through denying the XP. But look at who's here. It's Empress Raka on the flank. Sad Lantern fishing for that kill. Going to go into the stealth. Extra little bit of movement speed. Trying to work around the alcove. We got some alcove gaming here in the Titan Conquer League. Okay, Sad Lantern, let's see you. Okay, getting out of this one. Working around the gank. And all the meanwhile, Dalto is in the mid lane collecting the plates. So, again, SBET's in the lead. This just puts all the more pressure, I believe, onto carry to beat that carry for the team, because the rest of the map's fallen behind. So if they get that jinx, it's easy gravy for SBET.
Absolutely. Outside of the jinx, their damage threats are lacking. We see Bami's Cinder on the Galio. This is all in on the jinx. There is virtually 0 damage outside of the jinx. I want to make that absolutely clear. Which means that if you want this game to be a win, if you're Flash for Coinflip, you cannot be giving up objectives and simultaneously not accelerating your jinx. I think they have to recognize this sooner rather than later, Ferris. Otherwise, they might just fizzle out, as SBET is really capitalizing on the fact that I think that just
heads into the pit. Oh, the super mega death rocket steals away the dragon. That is huge for FFC. Let's see how the fight ensues, because they want some blood after that dragon was just stolen away. Dalto going to jump in there with the distortion. Kaius Kosadi's actually going to drop explosive, going to get that kill credit. TP is now going to come through, but right now the Jinx is excited. The Jinx wants to get going. The death from below doesn't find the kill. Give another one over to carry. Give a third to carry. It's going to go explosive's way, but FFC, they found their way back into the game. The Gwen doing her very best. The needlework gets one shut down onto the Sejuani, but still FFC, they fire back. They did exactly as you said, and they are not going down in this series without a fight.
They get a sort of a miracle steal there on the dragon, on that Cloud Dragon, the second one of the game, and that sort of opens a door for the Jinx to do the Jinx thing with those resets. As we see it come alive here, beautifully timed ultimate. If you are the side of SBET, you sort of got to recognize the Jinx ultimate can do that. You kind of want to be stepping, or at least positioning yourself around the pit, and then Flash for Coinflip is going to blow this team fight wide open. All it takes is one kill, and there it is. That's when FFC carry can absolutely run down Lush on the Varus. There's not a lot of counterplay once this Jinx is online in a team fight. We see it come to play here. What I do got a question here, Ferris, is I don't know if you noticed the Gwen TP coming down relatively late, all things considered. You got to wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a miscomm or a differing opinion in how they wanted to respond to that loss of a dragon there. But Gwen TP's down to the brush topside of River Ward, and then has to sort of fight 1v5 at the end of it. As we're going to see more skirmishing.
It's going to be Sombra to flash away. Oh, okay. Kosai, that's going to be... Well, you maybe hope that the broadcast didn't spot that one. We unfortunately did. You have priority on the grubs, though. So, hey, that was a warning ultimate. We'll say that. A warning impale. So good on you to force away FFC here. Empress Rock on the bot side, taking down a couple plates in the bot lane. And this should be a no contest, no TP on the Galio here. Explosives kind of hovering around. But this will be 5 grubs. They already got the 4, so Void Mites to SBET. We talked about the late TP in the previous fight. It might have just been because Spiderbite was not expecting that to turn out the way it did. Like, we got the Drake, we're good. All of a sudden, explosives here, and now there's a super mega death rocket that's stolen your Drake, and there's 4 people in your face taking down your team members and flipping the script of this matchup, because for a while there before that play came through, it looked like SBET was just going to run over the game once again. Now we got ourselves a matchup here. We got a dragon in the hands for Flash for Coinflip. You got some kills into your Jinx. Now on that Collector Power Spike is not behind at all, probably even ahead of this Varus in gold, which is exactly what you want. This is the biggest spot here for FFC. They were in a spot like this last time around where they had a position to tear open the game. Let's see if this time they won't throw it away and they'll run with it. As Sombra gonna hit the Q3, gonna go into the all-out. Doesn't quite have enough to lock down the Gwen there, but playing with confidence nonetheless. We like to see it.
It is a 3-1 Gwen, but we do see Kanik Rooker coming into effect here. And really just stopping a lot of damage coming through. Ults blown on both sides for Sancerino and Sombra. As we're going to see more fighting come out here mid, but just to disengage out of the pike. One of the best champions in the game at doing that when caught out alone. What I'm starting to see here, Ferris, and you commented a little bit on about it a second ago, this game is still anyone's game. It's 5 kills to 5, dragon to dragon. We do have a grub advantage for the side of Spider However, the gold's relatively even. It's only a 1k difference of 14 minutes. And for viewers wondering, that is an advantage. I will not lie. However, it's not one that is absolutely, game ending. That is still anybody's game, right? You're playing it maybe a little bit of a wallet disadvantage, but it's not like a full item across the board for everyone, particularly at 14 minutes when build paths are still changing, people are still finishing items. It is not the be all end all. And what I'm noticing here is we have a 6 grub advantage for the side of SBET as maybe nah, they're just teasing me. Not 6 grubs, but a 5-to-1 grubs advantage for the side of SBET, and we have a Jinx that is starting to come online in these fights. So to me, there's 2 clear identities forming, and it looks like they're trying to play to this now, but FFC has a composition that I think wants to group as 5 and fight for objectives, right? Jinx is excellent at that. They have 4 different tools to keep her alive and propel her into a position to do that. What did I miss? Did I miss something crazy?
Kasade's just used Impale in a bush. And we're going to see now Ixtal's impact land onto the Birdio, Empress Raka. There's no real follow-up here. You guys don't have the damage to take out that Galio. It'd be nice if you had an Impale right now to drag that Galio maybe towards the turret, but you do not have that luxury here. This is probably just the give. Gwen does have teleport. Now, does the side of SBET want this fight? They don't have the first item completion here on Lush, so they're going to be a little bit weaker than they might have intended. The fight's going to break out. Callus Cosade's on the Scar is going to take up. Heroic Entrance is not going to land on anyone. Now the Unleashed teleport here from Sancerino as well. The Dragon's still relatively healthy, but the HP bars as well for FFC are still pretty good as well. It's an absolute bloodbath of a fight, but look at Sombra trying to find the kill. The needlework too from Sancerino is so good. Someone is going to have to drop first. It's going to be the Cassandra. The Dragon is still very healthy here. This could be everything for SBET in this game to take over. One traded back here from Empress Raka. The Dragon still yet to go down. Both junglers are not alive as Caius Cosades falls. The smite comes through for the Sejuani, but the fight will go the way of SBET. Double kill to the Varus, and they are feeling quite good about that for themselves.
That's clearly we didn't know that the Skarner, the mental win on the Skarner ultimate, the Impale, was a mental win, and that was enough to get them 4 kills and excuse me, not the Dragon, but 4 kills and certainly a 1 fight and a 4k gold lead now. And now you have a shutdown on your LeBlanc, a 2-1-4 Varus, which are the two of the 3 rather damaging carries. We're gonna be able to get a second look here. As I was watching this fight sort of replay, I'm noticing that FFC carry, look, the whole time as this fight's breaking out, is hitting the Dragon and then doesn't really turn and uses the rocket Q until this point, right? And now the fight is split. One of your tanks has gone down. You got to wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a communicational error or an understanding of how this fight needed to play error. Jinx didn't get much damage off. All the damage Jinx had in that fight was done to the Dragon. And we see SBET really capitalize on that. As in the corner here, we're seeing pipe
now. Something's breaking out in the mid lane. It's a kill. Lush will pick up that one onto carry. The response play, though, Sombra's TP'd in. A response TP is going to be pretty late, but right before the Permafrost can come through, Lush can get that flash away, plus the Chains of Corruption to buy a little bit of space. What a support there, taking the Glacial Prison for the homies. That's what you love to see. Sad Lantern keeping the 80 carry alive, and that 150 gold bounty safe. On the other side, though, it's going to be Empress Raka, who, in that replay, picked up a solo kill actually onto Sancerino in the bot lane. Now had some alone time with that tier 1 turret and acquired that. And we're talking about this Jinx. She wasn't able to hit as much as she wanted to. That's going to be the case for all of these fights with this build. I really don't agree with the second lethality option.
Yeah.
It might be the opportunity, a build that we saw come online in, I believe it was patch 14.19, maybe 14, or it was before it was a couple patches ago. Anyways, building the opportunity there. And I would have liked to actually see more crit be itemized, because you need DPS to eat through this Skarner. The Gwen is going to be annoying to eat through as well. She is deceptively tanky. And unless you're getting that insta-kill off the rocket, off a snap engage onto a target like Sad Lantern or Lush, then this collector, this lethality, it's really going to hurt your DPS. So going forward, talking about this Jinx, hitting onto the Skarner and these tankier champions, it's going to be tough to eat through them.
Absolutely. It sort of this build, well, there are pros to it. Obviously, there are cons to it. I think the biggest con in this game and how it's going to apply to this game is that it forces you rather to ensure your positioning is exquisite, right? Your ability to blow up the Varus, to blow up the Pike, to blow up the LeBlanc is accelerated, obviously, with double lethality, the collector into what might be the opportunities you said before. It requires you to be in a position to be able to blow them up, right? And on a Pike and on a LeBlanc, that's not easy to do. And with a Gwen who can just stop your damage with the Shroud, or W, and a Skarner who's going to be tanky, what it means is that you have very limited windows of opportunity and spacing and positioning in fights to be able to accomplish that. So while I do 100% agree with you, and I'd like to make that clear, I don't think this may be the most optimal build for the Jinx. I think there is an angle for it to be successful. However, I think your margin for error in this build is so slim. And I think it requires sort of exquisite play. And, you know, not to knock FFC carry down a peg, but based on the last Dragon fight, I wasn't particularly impressed. Now, we'll see if you know, understanding this build and how that fight went wrong sort of adapts carry's positioning and sort of approach to how each of these fights will go. But like you said, maybe stubbing himself in the toe here, shooting himself in the foot with this build.
Explosive's going to get hooked over the wall, going to use the Arctic Assault to get right on out of there. I want to reiterate the words of Explosive, the jungler here, for Flash for Coinflip. He believes in his team. He knows, or at least believes in his heart, this is a team that can make the run to playoffs despite their unfortunate start. Now, backs against the wall, not only in the series, but take a look at the gold, 4,000 in an advantage for SBet. He wants to bring this team to that playoff position. It starts with this game. They have nothing really to be able to give anymore. So they have to pick it up now. They have to start making these plays. They have to start getting into that driver's seat, get carry online, because it's do or die for them in this game, with even the side lane here for Sansarino taking over on this Gwen. Naturally, this matchup is going to get harder and harder. And look at sort of the item difference here. It's Kanik, Rookerin, and Sheen for the K'Sante. On the other side, Riftmaker, Nashor's Tooth, Needlessly Large Rod, completed boots for the Gwen is going to be huge here for SBet as the game goes forward. Let's look at this fight here inside of the jungle. Looks pretty good. There's not a ton of damage for SBet right now, so Flash for Coinflip, this could be the play that they need. Kaiasko Sadi's forced to flash over the wall. Altic start forward from Explosive, and look at the huge 3-person taunt from Empress Rocka. That could be exactly what they need to set the fight off here. Jinx is excited. Carry is running. Dalto distorting over the walls, heading for the hills, and he has talked to his team. They have got the confidence they needed. They've made the right plays, and they're back at least a little bit in this game.
Absolutely, at least a little bit. They're going to be able to do the dragon here. I believe a Sejuani should be able to take this with a K'Sante. Yeah, there isn't going to be a contest. Death timers are slightly too long. No one's in position. They're going to look to trade on the top half of the map to sort of mitigate those losses here. We're going to see
Sansarino just going to get one shot. Takes the tower. That's a taunt. And that tower's going to go down, but hey, pretty good stuff there from the Galio.
Wow, that was tower damage. I didn't realize at first. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I immediately looked down at the build. I see a Hollow Radiance, the Haunting Guys, and the Codex, and it didn't seem like a lot of damage, but yep, that's got to be tower damage there. A little bit of an overstep. Tower is going to go down. I believe it went down. I actually cannot tell right
It did.
now.
Yep.
It did go down. Thank you. Yeah, so they get the tower, but at what cost, right? They lose the dragon. They lose a lot off that fight, and then another kill onto the Gwen. Granted, you're able to make trades as SBet, right? You say, hey, you know what? We got to pick something else on the other side of the map. But, you know, you hate to see it when the death comes through, possibly an avoidable death. You'll never know. Hindsight's 20/20. But, you know, SBet still has a 3K gold lead in this game, right, Ferris? Certainly this is anyone's game to take. A great fight for FFC, really opens up options for them. Moving into the 24-minute, 23.5-minute mark of this game. However, SBET is still not out of this one, right? We're still sitting on a 3-2-4 Varus into a 2-3-5 Jinx. A LeBlanc with 8 kills, 80% kill participation, who still has the ability to completely blow up the Jinx in the right fight. So we're going to see Sad Lantern do the Pike thing, but Explosive's still going here.
Is he going to be able to get out of this one is the question. Has to use Flash, but that might not be enough. There's the lethality we talked about. The Super Mega Death Rocket gets the first kill onto the Pike. Gets a huge impale, but there's no follow-up here. It's going to be the Breath of Life that takes away from the CC that Chains of Corruption provides. The Skarner is down here, Swifty. The Baron is alive, but it might not be alive for much longer because Flash for Coinflip are taking control of this game. Now, San Sereno knows the desperate situation that his team has, tries to go for the solo kill onto Sombra, can't find the damage to finish it off here. Look at Dalto's positioning. Very menacing on this LeBlanc, but it's going to head over, reveal the position on the mid lane. This should be Baron to go down for FFC, so huge win for them. The gold is closing up, but they are getting the better of them in these plays, although that tower gold going down is still huge to keep them competing in the gold department for SBET.
Yeah, a few missteps, I think, positioning-wise in the pre-objective warding and control here. Sad Lantern on the Pike. I love the aggressive positioning. However, all it takes is a slight executional misstep to get caught, particularly into a team composition with this much CC. And a Jinx with Collector and the opportunity here. Summer's going to eat a little bit of damage, but I don't think it's going to necessarily matter that much. But yeah, you got to rely on the Gwen there to pick up gold on the other side of the map. It is a 5 grub split pushing Gwen. So again, gold lead, still not terrible, or I guess like lacking for SBET here. They still have it. They're still managing to maintain that gold lead by trading objectives and towers on the other side of the map. But you got to start to slow yourselves down, I think, if you're not the Gwen on SpiderBite Esports here, and say, okay, how do we not lose these fights to picks? The pick potential with the Galio and the Sedge is super strong, and they're sort of falling into that trap here. We're going to see Dalto and Pike again in the river here. Remember, it's a 4v2.
It's the same type of situation here. Dalto can't get locked up with CC. You want to get the double chains. You don't do a lot of damage to that Galio. And you guys are playing with fire right now. One Glacial Prison could spell your doom here with that Super Mega Death Rocket that is certainly going to follow it up here. Explosive, not really worried about any damage that's going to come their way. Let's talk about SBET and this Gwen, because you said it. Outside of this Gwen, they're not doing too hot. Might not have time to do that. Impale's going to go completely wide. Sad Lantern might be as sad as can be, because underneath the tower he will fall. Super Mega Death Rocket's going to go wide. They're so tanky. The Breath of Life, the healing from the Milio is good, but do they have the damage to take out the rest of the SBET members underneath their tier 2 tower here in the bot side? They do not. Look at the split push from San Sereno. This Gwen is unleashed. They're actually TPing behind to try and save Sombra, but the damage is insane. The Blighted Jewel is in the inventory. Should be able to find the kill. The trade should come through for the Galio. Empress Raka will take it down with the Winds of War. And this is really, I was going to say, the only thing that is keeping SBET in it right now is the fact that their Gwen is so online here, but can't quite get the kill onto Sombra in time before dropping. It's going to spell good things for FFC.
Absolutely. And that whole time, while that spot side play and fighting and skirmishing was happening, I'd like to point out that both ADCs, so FFC's FFC Carry and Lush for SBET, were fighting for mid lane prior the whole time, and Jinx wins that battle. Has AoE damage on the auto attacks, was able to pick up prio. So neither of the ADCs were actually in that fight. It was a little bit of a wet noodle fight there. A lot of tanks just hitting other tanks, but with FFC picking up the win, as we're going to go into a pause here, but I'll continue my point. With FFC picking up the win on that bot side of the map, Varus has to rotate and then be able to try and stop an inhibitor push, right? Before this dragon take and control. That gives way for Jinx to have complete and total control prio mid lane. They recognize that Varus walks bot, they've just lost someone, and then they head right over to mid lane to take that turret. And excellent job on Empress Raka's Galio to then respond to the Gwen split push with the TP and pick up the kill there. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to lose the Sombra's Cassante to Gwen in that situation, but I think they're gaining more than they're losing. They have They were able to get mid lane tower. They were able to pick up, 2 kills for 1, and now they're in an excellent position here to take the dragon after this pause, Ferris.
They certainly are, and 5 seconds to go on San Sereno when we come out of this pause. It seemed that Dalto did end up reconnecting, so should be able to get underway very soon. This is a soul fight coming up, and SBET, whether they like it or not, they're gonna have to contest this one, and they probably don't want to do that because overall they are in the lead in gold, but I want to know how much that actually is just the Gwen over the Cassante, because I have to imagine that all of that gold lead is just San Sereno over Sombra. They want the Gwen to split push. They want to be able to hold the line here, but they don't really have that luxury with the dragon coming up. As we can see now, they're hovering around it. They don't have the time to rush it. This is when a fight is going to break out here as TP's coming in from Dalto now. They're going to get right into it. This is honestly do or die here for SBET. If they lose this dragon, they probably end up losing the game. Let's see how it all unfolds. Kaius Kosades is going to be the target here. Sadlander's going to go right into the backline, but that's just going to give a free reset here for the Jinx to run away from the Gwen, who's tried to find the flank, but the heroic entrance is so good. Looking at the other side of the map, it looks like, though, SBET is kind of running the fight for the moment. Impale onto 2 is good. They're trying to smite down the Drake. It's going to go the way of SBET, but the fight will go to FFC as the rest of them are running for the hills, but they're locked up by the CC. The Varus has nowhere to go. The timers are long. They could potentially run down and try and end this game.
They could. The push on this team is pretty good with the Galio and the Jinx. That's really the only 2 options. However, Jinx is on 3 items, does have the ability to push these waves really quickly. They do not have Baron. However, they've got 1 minion and they've got a tanky Galio. They're going to try to start taking this turret, and they're going to try and press this lead as much as they can. They're going to dive onto a Starner.
The Starner is very tanky here. Sad Lantern doing his very best to try and be a big nuisance. They should be able to hold on. This should just be the inhibitor dropping. Carry's going to look for a little bit of damage. Sad Lantern is so squishy. This is a level 9 Pike. You have to be so careful, and you have to be so precise if you're piloting this champion this stage of the game with everything that's transpired. 28 minutes in. I mean, it's FFC. They are so close to glory here in Game 2.
Absolutely. They're so close to taking this to a faux Silver Scrapes, Game 3, in a do-or-die situation here. You got to wonder, I love the gusto on Sad Lantern, but it's unfortunate that FFC carry is able to get that the Jinx passive off with that dying Pike in that situation. Excuse me there. Slipped up on my words. And they're able to take, off the backside of this fight, and Jinx, who was not in most of this fight, a huge win here. And yeah, they've got to push this advantage. They're going to have Baron spawning in a little bit over a minute. I do believe that firmly in the driver's seat is Sad Lantern again, playing on the edge of danger here. Ferris, an 066 Pike clearly wants to be making plays across the map, and just clearly nothing's quite going Sad Lantern's way here, which is
also
unfortunate.
level 9.
Also level 9, very, very low. You got to wonder, at what point do you change things up if you're the Pike? Maybe play a little bit more back and wait for them to make a mistake, as maybe he's doing this here, but a little bit too tanky of a Sejuani.
Explosive is tanky as tanky can be. Zeke's converted his Warmog's armor. Not really feeling the threat there once that Bone Skewer lands. And again, I'm just going to reiterate this point because it feels to me that this is the only way to win for SBET, is hope that this Gwen pulls off a miracle solo kill and has to pull multiple members back towards their inhibitor turrets from SCC so that they can relieve some of the pressure that's weighing down on them with these super minions. The Varus really isn't going to get to a point where he's stronger than the Jinx. It kind of only goes downhill from here. And to be honest, a lot of the forefront of the damage of Carry's build hasn't even come through yet. There hasn't been an Infinity Edge. There hasn't been a penetration item. This is a risky play onto San Sereno because they might just turn right towards the Baron. I think that's exactly what SBET is going to do on the other side of this play, but they're trying to commit everything onto the Gwen, who's doing so much damage with the Needlework. The Hollowed Mist as well was able to block away from the Glacial Prison, the Skip and Slash 2 to buy a little bit more space. The kill is finally going to come through, and with that movement speed, Carry is going to sprint all the way over to the Baron, and there's just no damage on SBET to take this down. The Super Mega Death Rocket will leash it a little bit. They might end up getting it, but I think they're all going to die here. That's the zap that's just going to take the life right away from Sad Lantern, and now Carry, who is excited 3 times now, is going to run right into an Impale, but the Heroic Entrance to be able to buy him a little bit of peel here. Dalto doesn't even care. The Jinx is just going to sit there in the front line. What do you need a front line for when you can be the front line? As the ADC says, carry, and FFC is going to take us to a match number 3. They will not go out easily. They will not say goodbye to their season just yet as they pick up the win here.
Able to bounce back. Absolutely big game from this Galio, Empress Araka's Galio, and Jinx proving me wrong with that side lantern. I love to see it. Yeah, you know, proving me wrong on that positioning note and that build note here. They're able to find a series of really good fights off the backside of objectives and their control. They execute the comp. Obviously, again, not without its missteps a little bit in the early game. Explosive was pretty explanatory themselves about that. But, you know, they say, you know, we're not out for the count. We're taking this to game 3, and FFC is going to take it.
They absolutely are. They honestly, it felt like the start of their momentum began when they stole that dragon with the super mega death rocket. That second Drake that came through, they won that fight. It felt like it was going to be another game similar to game number 1 for Spider-Bite, where they took every single objective. They had a couple kills on the bot side to get them rolling, and they were just taking over. The mid plays were good, the roams from Sad Lantern, but that one play that tipped the scales, and then every single fight thereafter ended up going the way of Flash for Coinflip. And even that one of those last fights there, they had the flank for their Gwen to actually get onto carry, but it was a little bit over rushed from Sad Lantern. They scared him away, didn't really get the Gwen into position that they wanted to. So some missed executions there from SPEC, but still I want to give them credit though. They were playing in this game for a team that is number 8 in the standings right now. They are giving it their all in the series. Both teams have now taking one off of each other. So I really like this performance here, but FFC, you know, good on them to be able to bring it back here.
Absolutely good on them. You know, you love to see teams in these situations, like we said, 7th and 8th place teams, not roll over and give up. It's clear to me that both teams are not willing to just let their season slip out of their control and out of their hands. Both teams clearly trying their all, you know, to some success, and obviously to some missteps, and that's inevitable. That happens, right? For a plethora and you know, a platitude of reasons. But what I do really like out of both of these teams is it's clear that not only between games we're seeing adjustments being made, but we're seeing adjustments being made in the middle of games. I think these teams are sort of trying to recognize what's the state we're in. How do we make it better, or you know, how do we keep this state if we're winning? How do we play to that game pace and play to that tempo? And it's something you have to do if you want to keep control of your season here, Ferris. So I'm really excited to see again. What drafting changes are we going to see? Is there anything that we're going to want to be taking away from maybe FFC carry? Clearly, the Jinx popped off despite maybe our assessment of the Jinx build. And I'm curious to see which side SPET's going to want to opt for in this game 3. Are they going to opt for the blue? Are they going to have a strong B1 power pick and sort of flip the script on the draft here? I think these are all questions that, you know, I'm excited to see answered after the break.
Absolutely, and we will head into that break. The conclusion of the trilogy between Spider-Bite Esports, Tarantula, and Flash for Coinflip here in week number 5 of the Titan Conqueror League comes to an end once we come back from this break. So stay tuned for that, and we hope to see you soon.
peekaboo. I see you looking at me, looking at you. Hold up, where you going? What you doing? Who you seeing? What you need? What you want? I said, without you by my side, my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. One time from side to side.
It all comes down to one game, a best of one between Flash for Coinflip and Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula here in the Titan Conqueror League. We're primed and we're ready to go for game number 3 with both of these teams playoffs in their eyes, or at least the chance at keeping that playoff hope alive. On the line in this game number 3, both teams have shown sparkles of brilliance, glimmers of hope, but let's see which of them can shine the brightest in this last meetup between them tonight. Good evening, everyone. If you're just joining us, I'm Ferris. That's still Swifty, and we're here to break it down and see what goes down in the third meeting between these two teams.
I'm beyond excited to see what these two teams are going to bring to the table. We've seen two sort of completely different scripts happen between game 1 and game 2 here, Ferris. We saw a really beef boy frontline composition come into play for the side of Spider-Bite Esports. Tarantula, they executed it very well, particularly, minutes 8 and forward. And then in this last game, we really saw FFC switch it up. They went with the Jinx B1 pick, as we can see on screen here now, from last game's draft. And they were really able to draft and then find a way to execute the Protect the Carry Jinx comp. Espet, obviously, I think with some drafting prowess of their own here, but never really able to find that opening. The Gwen was able to find split push angles and apply pressure to prolong the game. However, when playing into a Jinx like we saw the last game with FFC carry on that Jinx, you're never really going to outscale that pick, and it just wasn't in the cards from that game, which has taken us here to this game 3. And again, I'm excited to see who's going to make adjustments, what adjustments are going to be made, and how that is going to affect the playoff hopes for both of these teams here, Ferris. I think it is in anyone's cards. Both teams have a game in this series. They have shown that they have what it takes to draft an identity, to play to that identity, and then grab the win. But it's a sudden death now. Only one can go home, the victor of this series here. And it's all on the line. I'm excited to see what cards are the best cards they have to bring to the table.
Flash for Coinflip wants to tone down the craziness in their plays. I heard it there from Explosive in my short interview that I had with him. And in game 1, I think it's safe to say, especially with the play that Explosive made on the Viego around the grubs, the fact that they were running straight into the Braum pick in game 1, dying to that nonstop. It felt like they were just going for stuff. They just weren't thinking as much as they should have been. And then in game 2, it's kind of ironic because that play around the second Drake where they got the steal with Carrie's Super Mega Death Rocket ended up getting that for them, and they kind of coin flipped that play and it went in their favor. But once the coin flip was over, once they had a controlled game state, they were able to actually react to the mistakes that Spider-Bite Esports made. And one of those mistakes was getting caught, specifically Sad Lantern there, allowing them to get the Baron, not letting your Gwen dominate the side lane like she should have. So for the side of Flash for Coinflip in this game, if they play more to just maybe react to their opponent's mistakes, make sure that they're actually making the advantageous plays. It's coming from the mouths of their own players. They got to just relax. They got to make sure what they're going for is right. And that's a little bit of their recipe for success. And you can honestly say the same type of thing there for SBET. But for SBET, maybe playing a little bit more to what their established win conditions are could be their recipe and their blueprint to get a game 3 victory as well.
Sure, absolutely. Like you said, and in your interview with Explosive, it's clear that the early game is not FFC's strong suit. I think we've seen that both games here. And game 1, they weren't quite able to shore up those weaknesses into mid and late game. And in game 2, they really were. They were able to capitalize off, like you said, some coin flip dragon plays, and then really put their foot on the pedal, and maintain a game pace and a game state that was a win condition for them, right? However, if you're SBET, I guess the other side of the coin is maybe we lean into a composition and a draft identity that can win the early game, sort of as they have to some extent, and then be able to press that advantage and not draft into a composition that's going to be easy to make mistakes on. So really curious to see how this shakes things up. SBET is taking blue side for this game 3, so it's the first time we're going to see SBET on blue side for game 3, and they're going to have B1 as a pick. We saw FFC take Rel into the Jinx for game 2, and SBET was responding with Skarner, Varus, both games here. We're going to see bans sort of mirrored on these sides, so they might be relatively similar. I have a feeling once this B1 pick comes out is where this draft is going to look radically different than the previous 2 games, Varus.
The one thing about SBET being on blue side that I feel like they might run into trouble in is maybe the fact they can't get a counter pick for San Sereno. And I would like to see San Sereno get another favorable matchup again in the top lane. Was so strong on the Gwen in game 2, had the Ornn into Cassante matchup in game number 1, which after a slow start ended up actually neutralizing that and making it not be as bad as it might have actually ended up being if things went more the way that Sombra wanted. But dominated on that Gwen, I think, was a big asset there to SBET's team. So on the blue side, can they replicate that sort of draft success for their top laner is going to be the question, as the Corki locked in. Lush has played Corki bot lane before here in Titan. It can also be flexed to the mid lane, although Dalto is more of a primary mage player. Not sure if that's going to be the route that they actually end up going for. So you talked about the early game here, Swifty. That is a powerful, powerful early game AD carry, as Explosive is going to lock in the Kai'Sa here for carry, who actually likes that champion very much as well.
Absolutely. I think it's something that has been in the cards and possibly pickable in the last 2 games. We just haven't really seen it, get picked up. Kai'Sa is one of those ADCs that is B1able. We're seeing it R2'd here as a response to the Corki, which is, in my opinion, another really B1able pick. So, yep, they're leaning into carry, being on something that can take over a game. Kai'Sa has one of the highest single target advantages in the game for an ADC. They're leaning into carry. Carry stepped up to the plate, hit a dinger in this last game on the Jinx. They're giving carry another champion that can really take the game home. And it looks as if they're drafting around sort of the Kai'Sa pick here too. We're going to see Morgana picked up, the Spell Shield, obviously a huge tool in fights and into teams with CC. We see the Nautilus, we see the Amumu. It's a lot of CC they're bringing to the table. And Sejuani, obviously, like we said before, has the ability to find picks, engage on plays, as well as provide good peel for your carries and your key components in your composition. And then moving into the ban phase here, we're going to see the Cassante taken away. This is the first time we're not going to see Sombra on Cassante, and we're going to see the Gwen in response to last game. San Sereno's Gwen was used very effectively last game, sort of kept that team afloat really gold-wise for a good chunk of the mid to late game there for the side of Spiderbite. So now we're going to see, and then the Ornn banned out, so we're going to see a whole new matchup here. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. Like you said, counterpick is not available for San Sereno this time. So I think this will be a radically different sort of identity up here in the top lane for this matchup. We're going to see the Gragas picked up, which I can only imagine is a top lane Gragas, considering that we see the Amumu and the Nautilus picked up here.
And this is such a, wow, Dalto will be piloting the Corki mid, unless this is like a patented Varus mid, but the fact that Lush has played the Varus in the last 3 games of the series leads me to believe that is going to be a bot lane Varus. It is actually Flash for Coinflip who saved their counter pick here for Empress Raka and going to take that Ahri into the mid lane. The response from San Sereno in the Gragas into the Renekton, that's a favorable matchup. Renekton kind of wants to, he doesn't have to necessarily win the lane phase. What he really needs to do is just be able to stun a target in a fight, a priority target like Carry or sorry, Carry is on his team, like Lush or the side of Dalto. But if you can hold the side lane, that's good. You have some trouble though into the Gragas who body slam gives you trouble. This is a good matchup again for San Sereno. So that part of the blueprint that I was developing for the side of Spider-Bite is being fulfilled. So I think that is something that they like, that they will be happy about. And the Morgana pick, it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily, it's not great synergy with the Kai'Sa. If you miss the binding, then things might end up getting hairy. But we've seen group ups in the last 2 games. It's just been Flash's burn. This time, I think it's going to go crazy if one CC spell lands. But they see each other. They back off. These teams don't really want it in this game number 3. Maybe a little bit of nerves kicking in. They don't want to make that opening mistake.
That was the first time, actually, we're not seeing a kill or a Flash burned level 1. FFC, I think, knew that the invade was probably going to happen from SBET. They did it last 2 times. They got caught sort of, sleeping on these last 2 games with the invade from SBET. They bring forward a bush. They stack it. They have Renekton stand outside a bush. They're able to get the vision of the invade happening. Nothing happens. And this is the first time we're going to see FFC not at an immediate, albeit probably minuscule deficit, all things considered, within the first minute of the game here. Interested to see ProComp's draft score, who is giving SBET the advantage here. I'll remind viewers, and for any viewers who weren't here for Game 2, that SBET has had the ProComp's draft score advantage for this game and the previous game. We'll see how that comes into play here. Obviously, anything can happen. Like we say, this is League of Legends. It's not written in the sand before the game even starts. But what I did notice about draft as we were going into it, see a hook come out, a little bit of poke.
Should just be a small trade.
Yep, just a little bit of trading going on in the bot lane. Nautilus is good for that, for those early hooks into roots for those trades, as they're going to hit level 2 first. But as I was saying, FFC is going for a little bit, in my opinion, a more traditional team comp this time around. Protect the Jinx is, I guess you could argue that it's not necessarily traditional. This seems to me to be a lot more competitive play standard draft. Something like Renekton top, Sejuani jungle, Kai'Sa, Ahri is a super staple pick in coordinated play. The only thing I think that isn't necessarily a super staple pick is this Morgana, like I said before. Maybe a little bit of the least synergistic pick that they have on this side. But obviously, they picked it for a reason. I think the Black Shield is still super effective as a tool. The Q is great for picks. It's great for peel, as is the R. So yeah, we'll see how this sort of comes into play here as we're seeing an all new identity for the side of Flash for Coinflip. And
we're going to see first blood come through, and that is going to be Set's baby girl dropping. It's going to be Lush that gets the first blood. Actually opted into the Hail of Blades on the Varus this time, so more burst damage to follow up Nautilus's crowd control, and will probably opt into the lethality build. Might not have had the spell shield, might have just itemized into Dark Pool as well as Dark Binding. And when you don't have it, or actually maybe used it a little bit too late. But that's the one thing about Morgana, is it's not guaranteed that you deny that CC. If you don't get the timing off correctly, you're still going to fall victim to that burst potential. So a lot actually rides on Set's baby girl here to actually be able to get a Dark Shield onto key targets and in time to keep them alive.
Yeah, like you said, that's part of the reason I think it doesn't see more consistent play in competitive League of Legends, is it's not guaranteed, right? Like there's soft CC, there's hard CC, there's guaranteed kill, and as a Flash comes out, aggressive, going back in, but the Bandage Toss does not land. But yeah, for the Morgana, it's not necessarily guaranteed. You have to have good reaction time, particularly when you're playing on the edge of possible engages here. As a Flash is coming in, and a Flash traded between Explosive and Dalto here. We're just seeing a lot of sort of light skirmishing. 1 kill picked up, still anyone's game here. But 30 seconds onto Dragon. We see both junglers on the top side. I'm curious to see how they move into the first objective coming up on the map, Ferris.
It's been a very objective focused series for Spider-Bite Esports. They have had control over the Dragon for basically the entirety of the early games, both early games that we've seen in these games, but they've also been on red side for the first two games. And red side generally has easier access into the pit. So this time they kind of have to work around that extra bit of obstacles in the way, not necessarily implying that that's been the only reason, but that could be playing a factor into the fact that they've gotten those drakes early on. You can see heading down here is Caius Cosades, and they want to play for this. Dalto has the priority. Lush and Sad Lantern have priority on spawn here. They're consistent with it, Swifty. This is a team that loves their objectives. They're going to get it no contest. They might even be able to contest the grubs later on if they so fancy. And this is a big part of their game. And so they're getting it early on, which bodes well for SBET here in game 3.
Absolutely, it is a strategy that has worked for them in the early game. And like we were saying, during and post draft, a possible win con for this team is shoring up some of those mistakes and those missteps as they take their lead into the mid and late game, which is a position that FFC and Explosive themselves have said that they are strong in, right? In team fights, in late game sort of objective fights and taking home wins as games go into longer durations here. Obviously, you want, as SBET, to be leaning into the thing that has been working for you, which is their objective control. They've done it very well. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to see that if you're Flash for Coinflip, right? Doesn't feel good to go down a Drake, but they do know themselves, hey, it's not the end of the world. There's still plenty of time for this game to go anyway. Kaisa was able to sort of pick up and mitigate a little bit of that deficit there in the CS department during that Dragon play, or Dragon take, I should say. So still, cards are in anyone's hands, and we're not seeing it necessarily play out radically different for these two teams. And we've seen both teams take a win off of SBET having an early game lead. So we're going to see Sejuani now rotate, realize maybe it's time to start putting a little bit of pressure on these objectives and try to take at least one grub here. It doesn't look like Dalto has the priority they need. It doesn't look like Caius Cosades is in position. This looks like it's going to be a 3 grubs take.
Spirit Rush forward. They're jumping onto this Amumu, clearing away the Grom. Can use Curse of the Sad Mummy Witch, conveniently leveled up to that 6 in time to get that CC down. San Sereno is here in time. They're just putting pressure here. The Charm is tanked up by the Fat Man, thankfully, to keep the Crying Mummy safe. Did not have to burn. Well, didn't have some of their spells to begin with. Had to use the ultimate there, but able to survive 3 grubs over to Flash for Coinflip. That level 6 timer for the Amumu is super big, as sets Baby Girl being really annoying, dropping down the pool. Canceling the recall, keeping the low HP Amumu down here, but the suffering person for Flash for Coinflip when this is happening is going to be Carry, who can't even pick up any of the farm that's being crashed right now in the bot side. So do they go for this dive onto San Sereno? It's very risky if they try it. There's the Glacial Prison going to come through. It's going to follow it up with the stun from Sombra. They actually pull it off quite nicely. There's the layering of CC that you want to see, and FFC make a punch happen in the top side.
Absolutely a punch, and dives aren't necessarily the easiest thing to pull off. Typically things can go pretty wrong. Even at the highest levels of play on dives, they execute very well. They bite back. They hear us talking about their weaker early game comparative to SBET, and they say, you know what, you're wrong, and they take the kill up on the top side. Really well played. I actually really like the Morgana being annoying, throwing out that pool and stopping the back on the Amumu. It screws up his early game tempo, his early game pacing. It's going to slow down his sequencing. And it allows the dive to happen. Sejuani, Explosive on the Sejuani, was moving up into the top side to make that dive play happen. They're able to stop the back timer on the Amumu, buy time for the Sejuani to get there. Amumu has to then back, and the Fat Man goes down, like you said. But yeah, I think it's an excellent play. I think they're trying to find ways to mitigate any sort of deficit, be it a Dragon deficit or a kill or a CS deficit. Because if they can set themselves up well, contrary to the prior 2 games, to move into the mid and late game on much better footing, might be an easier game for them to play, as we're going to see a little bit of body slam, a little bit of mini bombas getting tossed around. I'm excited to see our first big bomba this game, Ferris. I may have to just shout bomba when it happens.
You may have to, and do it, man. If we see something like it, like Baus FFS action, full combos, Panunu shouting out some pretty good Gragas players in the community, then yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at Empress Raka, though, making the move from the mid lane. San Sereno has Flash, will be aware of what's going on. Spirit Rush going to be used to close the gap. Body Slam, Flash gets away from the Charm. They get the Flash off of San Sereno. So that is something. Not actually losing too much on the other side is Flash for Coinflip. Not like they did when it was FFC Carry who was taking so much damage and losing so much CS under the tower. And now Sets Baby Girl used the Dark Shield to protect the carry and sacrifice themselves in the process. As we talk about the FFC early game, this bot lane has gone from bad to very bad here with the immense gold lead that Lush carries over carry right now.
Absolutely. And, this is sort of akin to what we've been seeing the last few games, be it missteps in fights or engages or in allowing yourself to get DC'd like that. But we're going to see more invested in the bot side.
Caught out. Curse of the Sad Mummy. Look at the damage follow-up, too, from Lush. Insanity there. The Hail of Blades Varus, it's such a change-up in the build, and it's a huge asset right now for Spider Bite. They take control. They're up close to 2,000 gold now. And they're going to be primed for this Mountain Drake too. So based on the way this game is going thus far, I heavily favor Espet thus far in game number 3.
I'd have to agree with you there. Again, it still could be anyone's game to take. There's a lot of time for things to change and adjust. We've seen these games in this series so far go back and forth a little bit. However, you can't knock 2 dragons and 3 kills to 1 and about a 1.5k gold lead off of Espet's plate, right? They're in the driver's seat for the time being. They're making faster rotates. They're controlling the tempo of the early game. As some ultimate going to get traded.
Gonna flash away from the Chains of Corruption. The Spirit Rush just came off of cooldown in time. Flash forward from Sad Lantern, but the third charge of Spirit Rush will bring him to safety from the dredge line here. It's going to be fights from both teams over this third set, or this second trio of grubs. It was Flash for Coinflip who acquired the first trio, and now with their mid laner gone, no teleport to get back here. It is a hover from Explosive. He's going to flash over and steal that one away. He put so much prio on the Void Mites. That is insane.
That is insane. I mean, it gets you 4 grubs, which, for those unaware, 4 grubs is the break point at which you get the little Void grubby grubs that spawn when you're hitting tower. Any amount of grubs gives you a damage over time ability when you do damage to towers, but 4 is the magic number to get the grubbies to spawn, right? So that you have more active minions pushing. More the better.
The explosive cast. Big Bomba, that's right. Is it enough of a Bomba? Ooh. No, absolutely not. Call the meek healing from Sombra's good. Teleport flank from Empress Raka. This should be 2 kills here for FFC. The cast is going to slow down Empress Raka, who does not have Spirit Rush from the earlier play. Caius Cosades, though, will drop, and the Ahri picks up 1 for themselves. And so FFC, they fight back with a good usage of their teleport, the response being the tier 1, and more plates being taken in the mid lane. Is a play going to break out? I think it's going to. Flash forward from Sets Baby Girl. The chains are going to land, the Infernal, the Soul Chains, onto Lush, who flashes over the wall. Sad Lantern does not have flash for himself, but they don't really have the CC to follow this up. It's actually both people surviving. So Espet absorbing a lot of pressure here all across the map.
Absolutely. Really interesting. We're going to see an Ahri Charm and a hook.
Dredge line lands. Lush is low. Doesn't really want to fight this one out, but here's a TP flank just in case. Dalto Flash Valkyrie feeling himself here. There's the Phosphorus Bomb and the damage. First kill of the game for the Corki, who's been quietly ramping up in this one.
Corki heard Bomba up top and said, I've got a Bomba myself. A Phosphorus Bomba, drops it on Ahri's head, picks up the kill. That's the Corki damage after, I believe it was some buffs came through. I think people are realizing that Corki is actually relatively strong right now. The B1 potential being shown here. Has great mobility, has great damage. Picks up the kill on the Ahri there. But yeah, I like seeing both teams bite back, right? It's going back and forth. Again, this is a tale as old as time. It's a song that we've heard before, as these teams are sort of trading abilities, trading summoner spells, trading some towers, going back and forth. I still think this is anyone's game, but we are seeing, I think, a little bit of a gold difference here that is greater, rather, than the previous games, Ferris. 3k gold at this point in the game, I don't think was achieved yet at 14 minutes. So if you are the side of Espet, obviously, losing kills, losing a few kills rather, like up top on that dive, or a Mumu getting caught, doesn't feel great. But you do have a 3-0 Varus, you do have 2 dragons, right? You were able to get 2 of the grubs. You did lose 1. but you're still in a very good position.
I
as
think
we're gonna see-
Dalto likes these odds. Empress
man.
Rocka, dude, he's 2 levels ahead of you. Look at that guy in the monster UFO, whatever the heck that is. I don't even know what that skin that is, but that's cool as hell. Styling on all the competition is Dalto on a champion that isn't necessarily a Dalto champion, has been playing a lot of mages recently, but hey, again, those Corky Balls pretty good. And yeah, as you were saying, Swifty, the 1,000 plus gold lead for Sombra, the only real bit of gleaming hope for FFC right now. Everything else is falling apart for them. This Corky is going to scale. The poke is going to be good from the Varus. They're getting the Rift Heralds. Explosive's going to look for another steal. Drops the pink ward to C. You're definitely going to be dashing into your death if you go for this. Not going to get it. Now you got to try and get out of this one. There's 4 people in the pit. You're by yourself. Dredgeline's going to go wide. Going to get the spell shield from Sets Baby Girl. The depth charge going to go onto him as well. Curse the 7 is going to go down, but they're jumping in onto the Varus. They get the shutdown there. It's going to go the way of Sombra. The turn might just be good here for Flash for Coinflip. Cosades doesn't get the bandage toss. This gleaming hope is burning bright here for Flash for Coinflip, and that is Sombra showing up big.
They lose the Herald, but they pick up 3 kills, 4-1 on that fight. You gotta question a little bit the lack of initiative there, and maybe the hesitation on taking out the Sejuani. You know that Sejuani had burned Flash just to grab a 4th grub not very long ago. The Sejuani uses the Q, the actual charge, to get over the wall. Sejuani should be instantly dead there. However, they don't quite pull the trigger. The bandage toss misses on the Sejuani right there. And then they sort of waffle a little bit. Mumu sort of walks back. I think you want to invest on this kill a lot more heavily. Sejuani's able to buy enough time. This Renekton stun, followed up by the Kaisa ultimate, is just able to drop so much damage. And it's a way back for FFC into this game, as they're going to lose 3 in this fight.
They absolutely are. That's the power of the dive composition that Flash for Coinflip have drafted. Stun from Renekton, Killer Instinct on top, things like the Charm as well, little plays like that, especially once Carry gets some more items, gets the Evolve on the Void Seeker. That is where the big damage is going to come through for FFC. Let's pay attention to the Soul Point fight, though. Cosades does not have ultimate. In with the bandage toss, flash away from Empress Rocka. Might not have had to do that because, again, this Amumu is missing a key spell to his repertoire. Now his Dredgeline's actually going to connect onto the Ahri, but the Spirit Rush is good, can get away from the CC. So many blows being traded back and forth, but the fight is yet to start off. The Baron, or sorry, the Drake is 5k HP still. Another Spirit Rush. The Spell Shield has been utilized.
Oh!
It's Explosive who finds the Steel Flashes out of the pit to safety. They're going to look for the fight. The Dredgeline's going to hit the wall. That's pretty tragic here. Sombra goes into the Dominus, tanking up in the front line. Glacial Prison's going to go wide. The Chains of Corruption land onto the Renekton. The shutdown should come through. Give it to the Corky. That's pretty good here for Spider-Bite. What else can they get? Empress Rocket doesn't have much, but a nicely timed Spell Shield will get away from the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Sets Baby Girl might have been the sacrifice for their mid laner. They will chase them down. The Morgana should escape, but it is the RE2 drop. Sorry, I thought the RE was going to escape, but it's actually not going to be the case. Dalto getting some damage onto Carry, and they should be able to chase down this Morgana for the kill, but Flash for Coinflip, they get the Drake and deny the Soul Point.
And then execute. Sets Baby Girl, who is now Morgana, I'll add. Sets Baby Girl is now not... Sets Baby Girl, not the summoner name, but actual Sets Baby Girl is now Morgana, apparently. In its canon, its lore. Anyway, what a wild series of events. Explosive coming in with an absolute clutch steal, holding FFC's, or rather SBET's Dragon Point to possibly the next dragon. They will not be able to pick up the 3rd one there. Ocean Drake is a very strong soul in any team composition. A few key abilities used there from SBET at just the wrong times. We saw the Amumu ultimate come out just as the Morgana Black Shield was coming up for Sets Baby Girl, and it stops the Ahri from getting out. But then again, Ahri, I'm not entirely sure what happened on the top side there. It looked like Ahri was out, like you said, but then I guess Ahri goes for a re-engage, or maybe hovers a little bit too long, and a little bit of a disastrous fight there on the backside of being able to steal that. However, this game has been going so back and forth here. There's a lot of gold on this Renekton. There's also a lot of gold on this Corky, and you know, somewhat so on this Varus as well. This still feels like anybody's game, Varus.
If they can eat through Sombra's HP, then that's going to be a huge asset to Spider-Bite Esports in these fights. Keep Dalto safe. Make sure you're not getting assassinated by the Kaisa. as Sombra is going to get hit by the depth charge, but should be able to waltz their way out of this one. Very close exchange here in the top side. Their reward should be the tier 1 tower. So still, making plays is Esbet. They're going to drop the Herald too here, Swifty. So let's see how much more they can get. Is anyone going to drive the Herald into the tower here? Teleport not available for Sombra to join up this play. It's going to be Cosades to get inside that Herald and send it charging down. But look at Explosive waiting in the wings, ready to go onto Dalto here. Going to send the Glacial Prison, and Carry's going to fly right in as well. Dalto's in a horrible position. Valkyrie right into death. The shutdown goes the way of Carry. In the picture-in-picture, 2 people are on the bot side, but Sad Lantern will drop next. Flash for Coinflip. They get 2 kills onto their Carry, and they defend their tier 2 successfully.
Wow. Biting back, both teams. One team picks up a Dragonsteel, loses loses team members. They're able to stop the dive. They're able to stop the Rift push on the other side of it, and now they're looking at a Baron play. Possibly a little bit low. FCC Carry is not in a position to be able to take a fight if any sort of contest happens, but the Kai'Sa damage is pretty good on this Baron, even at level 11, with only a static Shiv to her name, as it's going to go down without a fight here. And that's all she wrote. The Baron is going to go down. They're now in a position to start mitigating this 2k gold lead that Esbet has earned for themselves.
And what can they get from this Baron is going to be the question, because they're still at a gold deficit. They're not necessarily stronger as a whole team, because there's still some very fed members here looking at Dalto, looking at Lush on the side of Esbet. So can FFC just utilize this Baron? I mean, even if they don't get much from it, I don't think they're actually too worried. Your Kai'Sa is still scaling. You got those stats and that team gold from the Baron as well. A kill was worth of gold to each player, 1,500 gold in total, utilizing it to push down the tier 1. So it's more just, like you said, closing that gold gap, stalling out this game. Although Empress Raka, you've overstayed your welcome. You're going to get the tier 1, I do believe, going to utilize the Spear Rush, but you're just rushing into your death, and your Spirit will be taken by the rest of FFC. But again, towers are being taken. Mid lane is gone now, so they're getting something at the very least out of their mid laner dropping.
Exactly. It's unfortunate to see the Ahri go down, but like you said, they're getting a lot out of it. This Renekton is still big on the side lane, has Baron empowered minions. They were able to push down the mid lane turret, if I'm not mistaken, during that. They've mitigated the gold lead from about a 2k gold deficit to about 1k now, even while giving up the Ahri. However, it's a little bit of an unfortunate death timing for the Ahri, as Dragon is spawning as Ahri is coming up right now. And I think that, a little bit of a hiccup. I think the Esbet realizes that, and they're going to start this up on spawn.
They flashed right onto the Sejuani here. They're making sure Explosive can't get into the pit. They're burning this dragon now. This is going to be their game plan. Explosive's just going to send it. He's like, get me to the dragon. I need this steal, but he's going to drop before it happens. Maybe tunnel visioning a little bit too hard and not thinking about the fight to follow, because Esbet is here to take control. They're trying to play spoiler right now for the FFC season in this play. It's so close in the back line. So many people are low. San Sereno can't get the kill onto Carry, who stays alive, still deathless in this matchup. Dalto is on the hunt though. Valkyrie forward, hail of blades, phosphorus bomb. Carry flashes away from that one, but from downtown, like he's Steph Curry, gets that shot in the net, and that will net him some gold in his pocket as Esbet march down the mid lane.
I just want to comment that was a very clean caster comment there. I like your net immediate callback. It was very well done.
Very much.
That was impressive. But yeah, the fadeaway was absolutely well executed there. Corki really getting brought into light here. What a strong pick. The Mana Immune's completed. The Triforce is completed. 514 can kind of just delete whoever he wants. The Gatling gun is going to armor shred. I believe it's Corki's E, the Gatling gun. It's going to armor shred. That's damage to tanks. And just the Mana Immune Triforce is damage to all the squishies. And we see all this damage come out here. Dalto has so much time to free fire here. Hasn't really taken any damage. We're going to see Smite comes through. It's actually secured this time from Caius Cosades. And then just the back end of this fight, Corki can absolutely walk through everyone. Kai'Sa is able to pick up one more kill and almost get out. However, the Corki mobility on top of those long range R's coming out, really coming into effect here.
Yes, yeah, it's getting pretty dangerous. Boom! Say it, Swifty, say it.
Hey. Okay.
Whoa, I did not expect like the musical little addition to the bomb, but we got different varieties. Is that what's up with those?
I'll
That's
keep
pretty
switching it up.
awesome.
I'll keep switching
All
it up.
right, keep us on our toes. We like
Yeah.
that here on the broadcast. 4,000 gold, soul point here for SBET in 2 minutes, 50 seconds time. They're looking for that Ocean Soul prize, that extra healing coming through, making sure that they're limited frontline in a support that's on a budget in terms of stats. Their Amumu, who's itemized into the Leandries, and their AP Gragas can stay a bit healthier on the front line to protect for the Titan that is Dalto in this game. Very close to an Infinity Edge and going to be doing mega, and I mean mega damage once that comes through. Though still, carry is fed, working towards that third evolve in the Void Seeker, and that's really where the burst damage from Kaisa actually starts to flourish. DPS is going to be a little bit better as well. So there's still avenues for FFC to play this game. They're playing for the picks. They want the one shot, get onto one of the key targets, bypass the backline, make sure that SBET is maybe overextending. And once again, Flash for Coinflip, they're a team that suffers when they are going too far forward. They're playing too crazy. Explosive there in that last team fight. Tunnel visioned on the Drake and didn't think about the fight. Got one shot, then the rest of the team had to play 4 versus 5. So can this team weather the storm in the next couple minutes? Can they play cool, calm, and collected and bring themselves back in this game 3? This is what we are anticipating as we transition to this early, late game.
You're absolutely right. I agree wholeheartedly. You got to get a little bit worried about the tunnel vision from Explosive. I'll remind viewers, this is a Warmog's Zeke's Convergent Sejuani. It is the sort of standard build nowadays on Sejuani. It's relatively low income for your first item spike with the Zeke's Convergence. And the Warmogs gives you movement speed, gives you a ton of health, which synergizes really well with Sejuani's passive, which just gives her innate resistances at the beginning of any fight, gives movement speed, allows you to stay on the map longer with that steroided out regen. However, what it means is as soon as your passive goes down, you actually do not have a lot of resistances. And with Explosive sort of on the wrong side of the stick there in the fight in that dragon pit, going for that steal, as soon as that passive goes down, the Sejuani blows up, and there's no real way for FFC to get into that fight safely, into an Amumu, into a Nautilus, into a Varus ultimate, and into a possible Bomba. So you never really want to walk in without understanding where your team's going to be able to follow you there.
And Sereno's in trouble. Oh, the last Void Seeker doesn't get it. The flash! Oh my goodness, they can't get the kill with the REQ on the other side. Dalto finds a kill onto Set's baby girl. Now, what does this mean for Spider Bite? Do they want to start the Baron? It has been neutral objective steals from Explosive in this series. No, 14 seconds on the Ocean Soul. I just realized that here, Swifty. This is huge. The Morgana will not be here for the very start of this play, and of course doesn't have the teleport, doesn't have Hex Gates either. It's not a Hex Tech Soul to get back in time. This should just be a 5 versus 4 here for Spider Bite Esports. Explosive, can you get inside the pit? Can you steal this dragon? Your team's not very set up. This setup is a little bit scuffed for you guys. You have to work on the fly here. They know exactly what Explosive wants to do. He knows what he wants to do. It's inside the pit and steals the dragon away. The fight might not go their way in the end, but the soul is denied somehow, some way. Explosive makes sure that that big buff does not go into the hands of Spider Bite Esports.
Much getting into the pit there. Hats off to Explosive. You got to do what you got to do. You're willing to trade the death. As a jungler, I've been there. You know, you'll take the death and you'll get the steal every day of the week in the situations to stop the Ocean Soul from coming through. However, SBET had all the tools in their arsenal to be able to stop that, and I think they just got caught out a little bit with understanding what the approach angle was for the Sejuani. They spent a lot of time with both Gragas and Nautilus in that top side bush on the northeast side of the river, and they didn't really think about what's the tri-brush angle. And before they can really realize it, it's just Corki dealing damage to the Sejuani, who is far too close to pit at this point, has the flash up, has the Q to get into pit. They invest too much around the wrong side of that wall, and Explosive comes through with the steal, showing off that stealing prowess with the smites. And you know, it's going to keep them alive.
Snap here, clearing the pink ward. Hey, they're saving that pink ward, bro. They spent money on that. They gotta keep that up kept. Empress Raka takes a beating for trying to take out the control ward inside of the brush.
Rent's high these days. That's 75 gold I dropped on that ward, and I'm not letting it go down. Great flash, though. Great ultimate. You gotta wonder what the death timers are at this point, as we're actually gonna go into this replay first, which actually, this is a great opportunity to be able to sort of see, yeah, we didn't see any approach from SBet, or rather from Explosive on the south side before they realize it's too late. Smite comes through. They're able to pick up Sombra on one side, who, frankly, didn't need to be there, all things considered. If I'm Sombra in that situation, I say, salute, go down with the ship, Sejuani, and you sort of save yourself the kill there. However, at the end of the day, stopping Soul is the most important thing. They do it. They are about 6K, 6.5K gold down, but they are not facing an Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul, I think in this scenario, is an all-she-wrote moment. FFC has got to do all they can to find an opening as possible backside.
There's the flank from Explosive. They're TPing the Corki in from behind as well, so Dalto's going to join this play, and Lush actually escapes the... Oh my gosh, the piercing arrow just rips through the hearts of FFC, and maybe all their hopes here of playoffs. Carry's going to use the Killer Instinct to get out of that one. The Flash as well, 2 for 2 inside of this fight, but now with Sombra down, there is only 2 remaining here from the side of Flash for Coinflip. They have to get back to their fountain. They have to heal up. The end might be in sight. Both carries still alive. Sansorino has lots of HP to tank up for the squad. And they might just try for this. Yeah, they're thinking to me, are we going Inhibitor? Are we going for the Nexus? What are we going to do here? They don't have much resources with the wave. It's very low. It's very thinned out, but there's no Summoner spells on carry. They do have to be careful. Spirit Rush going to be used by Empress. Rocket to get out of this one. They're hitting onto the Nexus tower. It is going to fall. The Nexus is now exposed. E forward, or R forward rather, from the Ahri. The cast will be used. Carry might be able to die, but they don't quite have enough in the tank to end it in this one. Big shutdowns available on both Lush and Dalto, but they can't take them out. They lose their Nexus towers, but critically, FFC do not fall just yet.
They do not fall. They're able to stall it out. It's possible that end play was not in the cards. However, you love to see both Nexus turrets go down if you are Spider-Bite Esports Tarantula. But critically, they trade a kill 1 for 1, both teams, right? What this means is that this is not going to be a 5 for 5 fight breaking out anywhere, as we're going to see sort of an interesting fight. Curse of the Sad Mummy really stopping the Sedge from getting onto the key targets there, as, like you said, that the Varus absolutely deleting those tankier players from Flash for Coinflip. And this is a scary moment if you're FFC. Granted, you have your 2 damage dealers and you're sort of scaled up Kai'Sa here, but you never want to be in this position if you're FFC. They do a great job of holding. They play it slow. They play with their positioning. A lot of times you'll see one of these people try and be a hero, but they play it very well. They're able to get the damage off where they need it, avoid taking damage critically. Lose the Ahri.
Save the Nexus, though. That's what matters most. But for SBet, you have to take into consideration what was utilized by FFC in the previous fight. There's no summoner spells now on carry. Barrier coming up soon, but the key one is the Flash to reposition and get out of the engage. So for SBet, they know that target is going to be very vulnerable, but he's just going to TP in the mid lane and going to be canceled, though. They get the tower, and Sombra might just die as well, but Explosives here once again on the flank. Lush is going to have no problem, though. That arrow is going to rip right through the crocodile like he's hunting the croc inside of the Florida Everglades. And Sansorino running for his life. The spell shield will make sure that the explosive class does not bring him back, but the Nexus is exposed. They're not here to defend. There's no towers in the way, and SBet plays spoiler and brings down FFC for their first win in the Titan Conqueror League.
What an ending there. A whole series back and forth with some absolutely crazy fights, some really deep dives, really looking for plays from both sides of the rift here, Ferris. And at the end of the day, it's Spider-Bite Esports showing that, hey, maybe early game beats late game, even into Kai'Sa's, even into Ahri's scale or itemed up Renekton's, as they're able to find just enough to put their foot down on the gas and beat FFC kind of at their own game here in game 3.
They certainly did. FFC, they fell behind once again in the early game. It was a standout performance on the Corki for Dalto, making big plays, playing the map nicely. Corki, well, Halo Blades in the runes, so had a pretty strong lane phase, but likes those couple of items, stacks up the mana immune, gets online later into the game, was able to just bridge that time where he was just ramping up, bought the boots first very nicely. Played to the side lanes, all of a sudden started making a huge impact. And it goes back to, as well, the plays that FFC made in the top lane, they went for the early dive onto Sancerino, but it was Carry who suffered, and it was Lush that benefited so much from this, and it was also Lush in the fights that just did so much damage. The front line could not contain this Varus, was on a legendary kill streak. The carries for Esbet did such a good job in this one, and congratulations to them because they're feeling good about that. Again, the likelihood of playoffs for Esbet after this victory is not high. They have a lot of factors to consider, but it's bigger than zero. So they're going to be patting themselves on the back, and congratulations to them.
Yep, absolutely. That's all you can hope for. You pick up the win. You're possibly relying on some specific outcomes for games that are not your own, which can never feel fun if you're one of those teams relying on other teams to lose or other teams to win. However, you've done your part. You've done your share. It's the best you can hope for. They pull out the win. It's a feels good moment. And at the very least, even if other teams, the matches rather shake up in ways that don't favor SBET's playoff chances, all you can take away from it at the end of the day is we pulled out a win. It's our first win of the season. We showed that we are a team that is good enough to take wins off of other teams in this league. And at the end of the day, that's some of the best things you can ask for in situations like this. They're able to make draft adjustments. I'm going to give credit to Flash for Coinflip as well. I think they made excellent draft adjustments throughout. FFC Carry, I think, played really, really well, all things considered, as did, frankly, all players on Flash for Coinflip. Explosive with some critical steals to stall games. Sombra with really, really good split pushing. Or was that, excuse me, was that Sancerino on the Gwen?
It was Sancerino, yeah.
It was Sancerino. Oh, Sombra was excuse me, the Cassante plays from earlier. My brain had the sides flipped. But yes, I mean, both Gwen and Cassante were shown to be very strong picks throughout. Galio, Empress Raka, Sets Baby Girl, I think throughout, specifically on the Engage picks rather than the Enchanter picks. But actually, even on Millia, I think at one point in the game was 0-12. They all had very, very shining moments. It's clear that both of these teams played their hearts out in this series. Two closely matched teams in skill. And at the end of the day, Esbet's going to take home the win here.
They absolutely are. And honestly, I think week 5, probably my favorite week of Conqueror so far, because that was a really exciting series between these two teams. They both played their heart out. You were talking about it, Swifty. And that's going to conclude the broadcast for tonight. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this stream. Thanks so much to Chris on production, Adam as well for observing behind the scenes. Stream looks fantastic. Wouldn't be a stream without you guys. Thank you to Swifty joining me on the broadcast today. And I hope everyone has an excellent night, and we'll see you for week number 6. Take care.
I see you, peekaboo, I see you, looking at me, looking at you. Hold up, where you going? What you doing? Who you seeing? What you need? What you want? I said, without you by my side, my side, my side.